What's up, no ifs and or butt heads? We are back to talk about episode 9, called Nobody's Listening, right? Yeah, that's the title. I keep just going by episode numbers for some reason when I'm talking about this show, but Nobody's Listening.
Well, because I think that's because when they first came out, there were no titles for the episodes, right?
That's true. Yeah, when Disney Plus first aired the first 3, it was just like episode 1, 2, 3, and I guess I got used to that. And then they released titles for whatever reason. But we have 3 new buttheads joining us this week. Our scoundrel friends from Scoundrels Inc. You also may know them from the Schmodown. We have Sean Sullivan, Frank Janish, and Kevin. I almost said Kevin Snow. Kevin Smets, the Smasher.
I'm just making sure my room is clean because normally, as an editor, we have morning Zoom calls, but you can blur the background. So about 2 minutes before showtime, I looked around. I was like, "Oh my god, I better clean up my edit bay here." So I think it's
You look good. You look good. You look like you're on program.
Okay.
If I can, as Elliot Finn, yeah. Thank you for that super chat. Everyone here is on program. We're ready to talk. So before we dive into the episode, I like to just get the temperature from the room. Our new guests, how are you all feeling about this show as a whole? Sean, we'll start with you.
The show as a whole, I loved. You said the show or the episode? Sorry,
The show.
The show as a whole.
The whole series.
I was ready to answer the question for the episode. The show as a whole, I love. It's probably my favorite Star Wars show we've had so far, which is saying a lot, seeing as like I've got my room decorated with stuff like this. I just love the drama and the tension that it builds constantly. So that's where I'm at with it.
That's how I'm feeling a lot too, especially in this arc. Frank, how are you feeling?
I really love the show a lot. I love the tone. I love the approach that they took with this series because it's much different than anything we've seen before, and I appreciate that. As for the episode, actually for the whole series right now, I'm like up and down emotionally. Very excited about certain parts, and then in this arc in particular, I'm very just exhausted, especially with these past 2 episodes and this one mostly in particular. I think it's been phenomenal so far, and I'm really, really looking forward to the conclusion of this arc and the finale of the season because I really just don't know what's going to happen.
I saw your tweet about this, and I'll bring it up after we check in with Kevin. Kevin, how do you feel about the series?
Oh, the series has been so boring. I mean, this show has made people that do not need red lightsabers or force lightning to be even more terrifying. This show has been amazing. I talked about it when it first started. I really love Obi-Wan. I love, like, between the wars and the myth and the lore. They always say the wars and the lore. I've always liked the lore and the Jedi stuff more, but this show has really changed my mind. It's pretty much my favorite Star Wars content right now. For television. So it's been fantastic. And the episode, like Frank said, I mean, it's exhausting, but you know what they're doing. We feel just like we did right before the heist episode, right? It's like they have done such a great job of building these mini arcs to where now the arc finale, or whatever you want to call it, next week is going to be so awesome because we can't wait to see these guys break through the system. So yeah, love it.
Exactly, yeah. I wanted to bring up Frank's tweet, or at least read it off, because I thought it was perfect. These past 2 episodes of Andor felt so taxing. I keep watching, hoping everything is about to turn the corner for the better, only for the Empire to squash that hope. It's suffocating. Rebellions are built on hope. This line becomes more and more powerful by the week. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Molly and I have been talking about how this arc has felt so bleak for Star Wars. But I keep holding on to that hope of that, like, it's going to feel that much better when they all finally break out.
I saw someone made a funny tweet about how they want to see Saturday Night Live do a sketch about Andor toys with like these bleak episodes, like, oh, here's your new prison play set with vibrating floors and torture Oculus headset.
I was gonna say your torture music.
Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, we have 3 B2 emos already, so as long as they keep cranking out B2 emo toys, we're fine.
Is that counting your costume?
No, I have 4 B2 emos, and they're like Russian nesting dolls too. They get smaller.
They all stack inside each other, right?
Yeah. Oh, let's dive directly into this episode. Molly, I'll just get from you. I'd put out a review this morning, but everyone should know what your thoughts are on this specific episode as well.
I loved this episode. Quickly though, I will pull up this super chat. I know I need to I didn't think about that until like right before we started, and I was like, oh no, seasonally inappropriate decorations. How could I? But Grogu is still celebrating Halloween.
Hey, mine's not even decorated. So Jill tried.
Yeah. No, yeah, this episode, I remember talking about the last episode with Alex's parents, and Alex, you said how much you loved it, and your parents were just like, it was like so depressing. What was there to love? And like this one just kind of like dug in even deeper to show you like just everyone's getting tortured, everyone's having a bad time. So it is going to make whatever happens next so much more impactful. Like the way this episode ends, you're like, oh my God, keep going. And I love Andy Serkis's character. What's his name? Kino?
Kino, yeah.
No, Kev.
All right. Well, since you brought it up, Molly, I'll go ahead and share my drawing with the class. Because I have never felt so pumped by the ending of an episode. It felt so good to hear him say those words.
I got mine then. Same moment.
Yeah, I was wondering how many of us drew the same thing.
No. Come on.
Hello, my name is Snoke. Right on this thing. There it is.
Is he the 12th version of Snoke?
I'm just going all in on the crazy theory. So if it happens, I'll be like the only one.
Yeah, okay.
So, the only crazy.
Yeah, you're the only one that said that. So.
Yeah, he's the only one.
In this group of friends that mercifully annihilate me about it.
I think that was our second thought when Andy Serkis walked into the screen. We were like, "Oh my God, it's Andy Serkis!" And we went like, "Oh no, the Snoke theories are coming back."
100%. And then this Joker, Kevin, brings it up, and I'm like, "You just stop! It's not gonna be him."
You never know, dude.
No, I think I do.
I mean, I'm not gonna bet any money on it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to Vegas and put some money on Snoke.
I felt weird when I was thinking, okay, my favorite part of the episode was the very end, and it feels like one of those sarcastic jokes or like when it was over, but like no. I loved that line.
And they nailed that ending too. You know how some people like some episodes have kind of ended abruptly where you're like, oh, we're over.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
This one was just they played the audience and everything perfectly like a piano to lead up to that last line, which was just so epic.
I think that's a great point.
This one ended with great purpose.
Yeah.
It ended with a period instead of just kind of like it's over. Okay.
For as dark as this episode was in its totality, to get that line at the end made that journey of the episode all worthwhile. It was I was definitely getting out of my seat when that line was spoken. I was like, let's go. I was ready for the next episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We've
Sean,
talked about it a lot. Well, we've talked about it a lot on our show. Like Kevin, what do you call them? Something outs?
Oh, like show outs or act outs in editing.
Act outs.
You always want like a strong act out, or if you don't have a strong act out, that's when you do a coming up on. And so, yeah.
I feel like this show has really failed on the act outs for the most part. Like it's always kind of ended on like, oh, that's the last scene, and like the scene before it feels like it should be the act out. Like I don't know, I don't think the show's done very well, and this was the first time I'm like, okay, I need the next episode right now, other than for just I want more Star Wars content.
The show ends too soon, but that's because you also skip the intros all the time.
I've heard about that. Sean can't sit there for 10 seconds.
I skipped the intro one time.
The intros are getting pretty long, though.
But epic as hell.
Oh yeah, we were dancing to this one.
Yeah, this one was great. This one I didn't skip, Kevin, and it was great.
Okay, good.
Okay,
we'll see.
Sean,
I do agree with you though. Like some of the episodes end where I think it was episode 4 where it's just like, and then Cassian got some homework. They're like, here, read this, eat your dinner, the end. Well, like kind of
the one I really remember, episode 2 had a great ending where he's running through the scrap fields, and then that kind of led to nothing. So the one other time we've had a really good with the drums coming in and him running through the scrap fields, and then it's just him going to meet with Brasso. Like, okay,
That was just to get that amazing shot for the trailers of him just like
Maybe.
walking
Right.
by himself with that cool jacket on.
It's cool jacket. I will say for the show, like the way these shows or episodes have ended, I've actually enjoyed every single ending of every episode, if only because it leaves me wanting more. And I think, at least for myself, that really works for me, and it makes me sit with the episode that much longer. And muse about it, if you will, until, you know, and then Tuesday night comes around and I'm ready to go because of the way that previous episode ended, and I just wanted, now I'm ready to see what happens next. So I understand the abrupt endings for some people, it doesn't work, like Sean over here, but for myself and maybe some other people out there, it works pretty well.
When Frank, though, you're also stay up by drinking a lot of Red Bull. So when it ends abruptly, you're like, I got nothing to do. I'm just going to rewatch the episode again.
Yeah. That's accurate, Kevin. Thank you for pointing out my Red Bull addiction.
Sure. Sugar-free.
Sugar-free, that's right.
Well, how did everyone
That's
feel
what I
about
drink, too.
just it's the best. It's good. But how did everyone feel about the prison part of this episode? I guess we should break it up into chunks and we can focus on Andor first. I will say this is a difficult series to write about. When I'm trying to write reviews, I feel like I just have to be like, here's everything that happened with Andor. Then we'll do the Imperials. Then we'll do Ferrix. But yeah, we can just focus on Andor now. How are we feeling about his journey and what he's going through, how he's changing?
I will say I was very curious to see what Cassian's demeanor was going to be like in this episode, because when he gets into that prison, we see him for the first 30 shifts, which is essentially a month. He seems pretty just shell-shocked and overwhelmed and in disbelief of where he's at. And then to see him in this episode kind of starting to take charge a little bit, inquire about, hey, who's on what level, blah, 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 and starting to ask more questions, and you see him in the bathroom, chipping away at a pipe, and you're like, okay, he's fully back into his survivor mode. Whereas in that previous episode, he just looked absolutely beaten and demoralized. So I was really interested to see what he would be like in this episode, and I was pleasantly surprised to see him, take charge and try and figure out, people's other inmates' thoughts. Like, what, you've never thought about breaking out here? I mean, come on. So it was great to see that type of Cassian, because I think that leads to the Cassian that we know in Rogue One.
I think something that you said, questioning Kino, and Kino was like, I'm not going to answer that, whether or not I've ever thought about breaking out. But the second he finally is like, I will answer that question, he's like, it's 12. It's never more than 12. Like, he has thought about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's so nice to see the camaraderie start to form between, like, the prisoners. Like, none of them are really butting heads that much. Like, you see that one scene where Cassian walks over and speaks to that other guy on the other team about, like, the rail not being activated, and they don't have the boots on. So, like, they're working together to notice these little small details. So, like, they've been planning. Like, Cassian's been planning with other people. He's just trying to get Kino on board, which is why it's so satisfying when it finally happens in the end. But I was so sad for Olaf. I was not expecting him to be. I was not expecting a euthanasia on my Star Wars.
Yeah, that was pretty grim.
That was so sad.
Christopher Fairbanks, let's just say, I mean, he's the guy that said, "What are you?" to Batman in Keaton's Batman.
Oh, yeah.
He's also the broker in Guardians.
And he was in Alien 3, right? In another prison. This poor guy.
Oh, God. Oh, he's just prison material, huh?
Another unbeatable prison. Yeah, what begs the question, I know some people have been talking about it. I saw someone in the chat, too, because this brings up a dark question. He's so old, Olaf, right? I keep saying Olaf. Like,
I want to say Olaf too, but it's not.
I have a daughter, so. But
do you want to go to prison?
But how long did this prison exist? Because, like, if they're only bringing in people that are able-bodied, right? Like, so it brings up a dark thing. Was this prison maybe existing during the time of the Republic, and the Republic is unaware how they were getting those Death Star parts or whatever parts they're building? You know what I mean? Like, how long has this prison been? Is it an independent contract type situation? Or that was one thought that I had about the prison sequences. How long has it been around?
I was thinking about like were these prisons around or some form of it around during the Republic, because you're right, Kev, like a lot of people have been there for a long time, and then once Palpatine came into power before before the Galactic Empire, what was he allowing to happen? What was going on? What were they setting up? Because Palpatine was following this plan. So I was curious about what was the prison system like in the Republic before Palpatine. But yeah,
going into stuff that Tony Gilroy probably did not take into account. Right. Molly and I were talking about the way that the prison looks kind of similar to the Colossus from Star Wars Resistance or Sky Strike Academy from Star Wars Rebels, that it might be an Imperial space station that like can land and sit in water. So I'm thinking they're Imperial. I'm hoping they weren't around before the Republic. Fingers crossed. But
Chancellor Valorum was big on slavery. So that was one of his.
I mean, he let it. He didn't care about it happening on Tatooine. So
well, we do know it was illegal in Episode 1.
Yeah, that's in the Republic space.
In the Republic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to bring up, because I saw Hugo mention that we were talking about it. Just thanks for the super chat, Hugo. If the Empire wants healthy prisoners with jobs, why was Olaf there unless he was in that prison since opening day? Does make sense. And how did it take this long for levels to realize prisoners are being shuffled? That's a good question, because it's one I don't fully understand either.
Does the person being shuffled, don't they tell everybody, or are they told don't say anything? Because like, wouldn't you come back and be like, dude, I thought I was going to get off. I was supposed to be home. So I wonder when they say the mistake, maybe he was supposed to be killed and then he just got. Well, I don't know.
The doctor said they made a mistake, and I don't know what the mistake was.
Was it that he got put in the same level accidentally?
They said he moved from 4 to 2 or something.
But wouldn't someone say something?
But you would say something.
Yeah.
Right, and I think he did.
The establishing shot from last episode shows multiple of these stations on the ocean. So they probably rotate them through the stations, and their sentences are long enough where they never go back to the same station.
But still, wouldn't you show up at another station and be like,
"Oh, yeah, that's a fair point.
Just over there."
Okay. Yeah.
Unless it's a brand new state, maybe maybe each prison isn't full all the time, and so they just like move people so it looks like they're
thrown on a shuttle that then goes to get exterminated. But this guy got thrown on the wrong shuttle.
Maybe.
I'm hopeful.
Delivery or something.
I'm hopeful episode 10 clarifies what the mistake was, because it does seem kind of like obviously someone would tell, unless they were like, if you tell anyone, we'll kill you. But
I mean,
that doesn't seem like much of a threat.
I wonder if the Empire is shuffling these prisoners around before they move them to another facility. I wonder if they like do something to give them like a lobotomy and just make them, like erase your memory or something.
Ooh,
and so that you go back into the system and you're just perpetually in the system until you become an Olaf and you die, in a hallway from a massive stroke.
Maybe the mistake, because the doctor says I made it. Maybe it's like he didn't put up enough brain wiping fluid.
Yeah. Have they been doing this whole shuffling system, or is that because of that PORD thing that just went into effect?
Oh.
It's unclear. I think the doctor, that's true. I think the doctor kind of hinted that it was new. And then they were like, no one's getting out, are they? And he said, not after this. So maybe they haven't been doing this for a long time, and it was, but still, like, I don't know why the Empire felt like we have to kill a whole room full of people because they found out this one thing. I don't know. Yeah. Like, why not just be like, no, you're in here forever? I guess they wanted more guards.
They probably realized that they're communicating with the other levels through those like hand signals, maybe.
Perhaps.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it was that, like, if there's only 12 guards per floor, maybe they're like, we need to get more guards before we let everyone know that we're just going to keep them here forever. And then maybe they accidentally were like, and then we moved this one dude too early.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were probably just afraid of a riot starting.
Yeah.
Like the word would get out. They're understaffed, obviously. and they're not very good at their jobs. So easiest thing to do is just take them all out.
Yeah, there's 350 prisoners per floor, right? No, there's
Yeah.
oh no, there's 700
Seven.
because there's a day shift and a night shift. So there's 50 people per shift times 2 shifts times 7 rooms per floor.
Math.
So there are 700
Whoa.
people against 12 guards on each floor.
Yeah, that's pretty out of whack, I think.
Next week's gonna be sick.
It's gonna be-
I can't wait.
I did really enjoy seeing the doctor come in though, because like even he was a prisoner. He just had like a
Yeah.
different color uniform. And I thought it was interesting when he came in, he was like, I don't want to know his name. And they kept trying to
Mhm.
tell him his name. And it just made me think of like earlier in the episode, Kino, he knows everyone's names. Like he comes off as kind of a hard dude, but he took the time to learn everyone's names. He told Andor, one of the first things he told him was like, I'll know before anyone else if something's going on between you guys, because he's like so focused on how they're interacting with each other. So it just made that line even more powerful.
Just the way they handled Kino. If you told me last week that I would be pumping my fist about like Kino's on our side now, I'd be like, there's no way. I thought he was definitely going to be like the antagonist. But yeah, showing these little hints of humanity.
And he had a nickname for Olaf.
Oh,
didn't
yeah, we
notice
saw that.
Till the second
Uli.
time we watched it, he called him Uli, and I was like, no, not the
Ooh.
nickname.
Yeah, I wonder what that relationship was like between them then. To have a nickname for somebody like that.
Yeah.
I think you have a pretty long history, so yeah,
now
that's
I'm
rough.
gonna cry. Now I'm gonna cry. I didn't realize that one. Damn it.
So
Yeah.
sad.
I really love the whole dynamic between Cassian and Kino, where I've been thinking that this arc would be, okay, now Cassian knows how to work with a team. Now he needs to learn how to lead a team. And we kind of see a little bit of that where Kino's losing his grip and Cassian's like, on program, like, get it together.
Mhm.
We got to make sure they don't know we know. It's turning
And
into a
him-
Friends thing.
Yeah.
And him stepping up on the table and like definitely kind of showing that he, you know, he's looking out for everyone, not just himself,
Yeah, but I also
which
think
is such a change from what we had
Yeah.
before.
and that's interesting because I think Cassian's doing it more out of like personal necessity of like, I'm trying to get out of here. Not necessarily that like I'm going to galvanize this group together, we're going to become a strong team, a unit, and we're going to bust our way out of here. I think there is definitely that part of him inside of him that helps him become a leader within the rebellion down the line. But I think at this point, he's trying to figure out how to get out of there. And if you want to come along with him, then by all means, hop along the train and let's do this thing. But for him to, I just don't, personally, I don't see the what am I trying to say here? Like this, the forthright of being, follow me, let's go down this hall and take him out.
The leadership role.
Yeah, the leaders. I think he's unwillingly, unbeknownst to him, he is becoming a leader. Unbeknownst to him, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Agreed. Yeah.
The reason why he's there in the first place is because of all of his actions leading up to the Aldani job. And like, it's interesting seeing the first couple episodes of him on Ferrix where he is acting a little bit selfish. He's just assuming everyone's going to cover for him. And then they ended up paying for his stuff that he did on Ferrix. And then after the Aldani job, he himself is paying for what he did. And so it's interesting
But
to
not
see
because
him
of it.
slip-
Like,
yeah.
it's such a weird
yeah,
thing.
indirectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see him like not become a leader yet, but he's learning how to work with other people and understand, you know, how it is to like need everyone to kind of get along and do their part for one common goal.
Yeah, I want to bring up Jane earlier. Thank you, Jane, for the super chat. Asks, how long do we think Kino might stick around in the show? Do we think he will make it out of the prison?
He makes it to episode 8, you guys, The Last Jedi.
Come on.
No, that's a clone.
Around Star Wars
That's a
for a while.
clone,
Yeah.
man. It's a clone.
Come
of
on, I had
Kino.
to say it. I had to say it.
I don't know. I'm
Everyone
scared
shook
for
their
him.
heads.
Yeah.
I agree. Just because I think I see him like Nimic, and like this is going to be the guy that helps
A
Cassian
catalyst.
change
if you
a
will.
little bit,
Yeah.
and then dies. Like that just
Yeah.
feels like how the show is going to go. But I hope he
Yeah.
makes it.
Yeah, any inmate who gets their shifts reference how many they have left, I'm sorry, you're gone.
It's like if
Oh,
you're a
no.
soldier and
It's
you
just-
show a picture of
yeah.
your kid, you're dead too.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's a
Yeah.
death sentence.
That, and I just don't know that the show can the show really handle that many big major characters at that
That's a
point
good point.
once we're out of the prison, because we know, I mean, I assume Melshi's sticking around.
I don't know. I don't
Like,
know.
by the way, I want to get a shirt made that just says "Shut up, Melshi," because I feel like every time he tries to talk, Kino's like, "Shut up, Melshi." So that's gonna be my next shirt. Is "Shut up, Melshi."
Nice.
Brian Ward, get on that.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens in the prison next. That's going to be a big episode.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Oh man, I'm a
That's
sucker
all
for
I
prison
want.
movies and prison TV shows, and yeah, the build up. I'm glad too. I think I was wrong in my assessment that this would have been the prison, because I thought that it was 3 episode arcs, and I didn't realize that one was like a isolated.
Yeah.
So to know that we get like another episode in this world, very excited.
Mhm. Yeah, that Tony Gilroy said that 7 was just kind of like an outlier, a bridge, and then 8, 9, 10 is another 3-part arc. 11 and 12 are like a 2-part finale.
Cool.
So that's what we have to look forward to. But yeah, this is giving me feelings of like knowing that the Battle of Blackwater was coming in
yeah.
Game of Thrones. Like
Remember
I
that.
just remember being so excited to see that, and I haven't felt that way in a long time. Of just like they're gonna get out next week. I don't know how, but they're gonna do it.
Yeah, or it feels like before the Order 66 episode of Clone Wars. Remember, Frank was living with me at the time.
Oh yeah.
And we were just like, oh, my
gosh,
god, like what are they gonna do? How are they gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels that
I'm
exciting.
real hyped. Well, okay, we've been talking about the prison for like half an hour, as we should. But let's move on to, I guess, the Imperials. We'll talk about Dedra. Of course, we have to talk about Dedra and Syril. But let's
Good
just
lord.
talk about Dedra first. How did everyone feel about her before this episode?
I was.
My comrades love her, dude. They love the Imperials.
I knew.
I was a big fan.
As big a fan as Syril, really. He was like taking pictures and putting it on his wall. It's weird if you go to his room.
You know,
Sean,
it
do
was
you have a
Dedra-
secret box? Do you have a private box? in your
Private
room?
box. Oh my god, what's in the private box?
Oh man, that's great.
It's so good.
That's really good.
Teardrop.
He's got
Oh
a. That's
my
a weird
God.
teardrop that also looks like a third eye.
Well, it was, I didn't know the pen was blue when I started doing it. For those that know, I used to host a show about secret boxes.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
you should have Syril on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
Syril would
his
be
secret
great.
box a secret box that rocks, or is it a
It's
secret
a-
box that rocks?
I think it's probably a secret box of rocks. It's no way it isn't. There's no way it isn't.
That's great.
But you
Dedra-
liked her.
I like Dedra. I mean, it's not. I don't like her like I like a hero, but it's one of those things where you have to have a villain. Like Thrawn is a villain people love, or like people love Vader, people love Thrawn. You need to have those villains that are cool and fun to have on screen and fun to watch be evil, because otherwise it's just kind of depressing. This episode, she's just kind of depressing.
I
Oh, yeah.
do kind of enjoy her still, though, because she's showing like an extra evil side of her. I liked rooting for her just as a woman in the Empire, like seeing her speaking with people that are equal to her peers, and then higher ups. But now we're seeing her speak down to people, punch down, and she is terrifying. And like that's kind of a fun
Yeah.
process.
I
That
I
actress
made sure to
had a
upload
quote
this
about it.
because I just
God.
Oh,
like
She
that.
just she's got
This
this
is-
She
thing
went to
where
completely monstrous.
next
she
level.
can like twitch her face and or lip just like a little bit to where
Like
she's
Sly
just like,
Stallone.
quivering with anger. She's just like ready to pounce. And I love that she even says to Bix that like she's being very thoughtful about how she goes about doing things. Like the Empire will just assume it's all bad, and she's like, I want to pick it apart.
The actress said she likes playing the part too. She liked that people were rooting for her at the beginning, but she wanted to show in her acting that women, you could root for a woman, right? But you could also show that a woman can be just as corruptible in a corrupt system, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything they've done with Dedra has been fantastic because we've seen her almost exclusively, like Molly said, she's punching up, or at least with other Imperials that we hate. We're like, okay, that Blevin guy sucks, and it feels good to see her knock him down a few pegs. And she's like climbing the ranks, and also she is like right. She says something's going on, and she is presented as this underdog that eventually she like gets some victories, and you're like, I know you're Imperial, but like you're not doing anything to our characters yet. So she was enjoyable to watch. And then this episode, I was like, oh yeah, she's a monster. She's always been. And I remembered, I think in episode 4, Partagaz said, oh, you've done great in the corrections program. So like she's always been doing this kind of stuff. We just haven't seen it. And now seeing it, I'm like, God, she is terrifying.
Let me make this torture even worse. This torture that she gave too, to put it in even worse perspective. So,
oh, great.
Yeah, it's worse. So I remember early on in having a child, children cry a lot. And it's like this really gives you a guttural reaction as a parent.
I hope you're not going to say what I think you're going to say, but
no, my wife confirmed it for me. She said that literally the reason why children's cries are so hard to hear is we are biologically programmed to be so affected by it that we will go to the aid of a crying child. It is in our biology. It's in our DNA. Because if we didn't, children would cry and no one would go, oh, it's just making that noise, and they would die. So think about that for a second. And then you have to listen to dying children crying. That is a torture all in its own. And it's because we are hardwired genetically to feel a certain way when you hear a baby cry. So just to make it that much worse.
Well, I don't think they're human babies. I think they're alien.
It is children, but like
right.
Yeah, it's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but I know what you're saying there, Kev, because to hear anything, I don't want to hear anything dying, like at all.
Sean
ever.
doesn't care about Martian babies.
Nope. Sean does not care if it's an alien.
Human babies only.
Are there Martians in Star Wars?
No, I'm just saying we're not.
You don't care because they're not human.
We're not biologically programmed to like run towards Ithorian children, right? Those would just sound terrible.
I see an Ithorian child, I'm running right to its aid.
Well, I liked how they made a point first of all, the doctor was terrifying too. He was
I got
so
the doctor. Hold on, I got
happy and excited.
That's your favorite part.
Look, I'm not an artist, but this is just how I see him in my dreams or nightmares rather. So it's just,
you are a bad man.
Bad
oh my
man.
goodness.
Yeah. So there it is.
Yeah. No, he was like super excited to tell her about this technology and use it specifically. And yeah, he mentions that this is like an alien race that they wanted to colonize and they fought back, so they ended up just killing them all. And then they recorded it and figured out that the recordings of their screams caused people to go insane. So they were like, oh, perfect. Let's use this to torture people.
The fact that they were like,
terrifying.
let's record this and use this
Yeah.
is just diabolical and insane. These people are sick. And
Again, and they don't need red lightsabers or cloaks and force lightning to show you how scary the world can be.
Or even
I think it's
stormtrooper helmets.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think the show has done a great job of is personalizing how horrifying the Empire is. Like watching a planet explode is not graphic. It's terrible and we know it is, but it's almost like you can't fathom how terrible it is. But to watch some doctor like go hello and then explain how he's about to torture you, do it with a smile on his face, and
and it's
like it makes it so personal.
For some weird reason in Rogue One, there's this one shot of a little baby crying, right? When they're attacking on Jeddah, and that always hits me emotionally because she's crying, and like the parent's gonna eventually like calm her down, only for her to die like a half an hour later, and like that it's so dark. And so,
have you read the Rogue One novelization?
Oh God, no! Tell me.
It follows up on her. Yeah,
What?
like when the Death Star shows up
Yeah.
and blows up the city, Alexander Freed takes the time to revisit a couple of the random characters that
She
Jin
makes it off planet.
encountered.
Then? Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh
she
no!
does
What is
not.
she playing with a toy? She's finally not crying, and then she dies.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
that's how it
God.
goes.
Oh, man.
That one shot. Next time you see it, you can't unsee it. She's crying because you just know, like, what a bad day she's having.
Oh, it's about to get way worse. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
to get way worse, and it's your last day ever. You don't. Live to your 10th
What a way to
birthday.
go.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Let me just say real quick about the Doctor. The way that they use the Doctor took me by surprise a little bit in this episode. Normally, it's like, okay, you're gonna get interrogated. Close the door, we go to the next scene, then we'll come back and Bix is all tortured, right? But they decided to take the time to have this Doctor have a moment and just describe how insane he is personally and the Empire as a whole. And the fact that they just it made the scene, makes the torture that much more visceral and heart wrenching because of the way he is. He's going about it as if he's ordering, through the drive-through, and he's just like, "I'll take one of these, and you're going to have this on your head. Don't worry about it. It's really to protect you." Blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, the shackles are more for you.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, dude. It's like, God, I just hate that guy.
He was excited to explain to her
Yeah.
this thing that he came up with and invented, which is so dark. And the other guy
go ahead,
that we
sorry.
see later, he was excited to hang
Oh,
Pac
yeah.
in the
Oh, yeah.
streets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
dude.
all just like raring to go to be awful.
That's gonna be a move that they're gonna back up on, or he's gonna regret. I think that hanging
Oh, yeah.
start that the spark.
I
Especially with
hope they
Marva.
save him.
Yeah.
I'm expecting they won't, and that they will hang him, and Ferrix is going to lose their mind and
When they
collect it. The
said,
time
like-
grappler is going to come out with his hammers and
When they said
And
what's
everyone.
left of him, I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, he's probably gonna die.
But to follow up on the Doctor more, after they talk about the pilot they've captured,
Oh yeah.
and they're like, yeah, he's spilled some beans about this, and Partagaz is like, and this was a Dr. Gorst interview, and they're like, oh yeah, we're sure it's true. Like the dude has
Reputation.
a reputation amongst the Empire. They're
Yeah.
like,
It's like
oh,
him
he's
and
good.
Thor Gullet, like right
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
I do want to point out one of the best lines was the worst thing you can do right now is bore me.
Oh
is
my
what
gosh.
what Devra said or whatever her name is said. Like that is just freaking scary
Can-
with the evolution of her character.
Can I
like-
just say? I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
I'm so sorry. I don't know about you, but while Bix get interrogated, I unwillingly or willingly maybe inserted myself as if Dedra was interrogating me and how I would react to Dedra because I know like the game that she's playing, and I so wanted what I was thinking and feeling for Bix to be doing that to
Too much
Dedra.
Red Bull, buddy. Too much.
Yeah,
Red Bull.
maybe, man. Maybe I'm
Well, that-
just,
that's the camera angles job.
Yeah.
That's like the cinematography of it all, because like the camera angle is her speaking down to you, who is you're probably sitting down. So yeah, I think that's purposeful.
Yeah, I mean, it hit me hard, so job well done.
Now I know how to torture you for info,
Great.
but not Sean, because Sean apparently. Did you see Jill say "Wow, Sean" in the chat? Your wife might be a little concerned. You better handle that.
Another thing about the torture was described, it was horrific, but it was also from a storytelling standpoint a smart way to do horrible torture without making it graphic. And like we didn't get to hear it. We just let our imaginations run wild and be like, yeah, like I buy everything about it. I do not blame Bix for eventually giving up information. It's very effective in what they wanted to do with it.
She had like a very guttural scream.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
It was pretty brutal. It's like
And then they
Jaws
did the
effect.
pan down, the pan down to the
I
boots.
love that.
Oh yeah,
The
it was
open
great.
homage.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss right there.
They talk about how they don't do fan service, but we see you doing fan service.
see it.
I threw it in there.
But in a good way,
Yeah.
not an
Uh-huh.
obtrusive way.
Yeah.
Not like
How did we all feel?
Tino way.
We already talked about the secret box, but let's talk about Syril Karn and Dedra Miro, because I put up so everyone could see my reaction, or our reaction to this happening.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
just
Yeah.
not having it. I was not expecting any of that.
Oh, even the pup.
Even
Just-
Hilo doesn't want
Yeah.
anything to do with it.
He was
I'm
like,
just
no.
gonna look away.
He's like, I don't want to see that.
No, thank you.
It's so like, I hate it, like cringe inducing. Like
Oh, 100%.
Makes your skin
Cyril
crawl.
oh man, I feel so bad for the guy because clearly he's
What?
got stuff he needs to work through. You know, if only he had just been given some help. You know,
If only his mother actually cared about him
Right.
and not just her
Yeah.
reputation.
Yep.
but I will say one of the this had the box reference in it, but like, look, I know where Cyril's coming from with having kind of strict parents and ones that would go through my stuff when I'm at school. Like, I get it, so I get where he's coming from as far as like, clearly he's trying to impress and he has this like level set for him where she makes a big deal about him changing his hair, like. But I don't know. This seems like such a far step from the rest of Syril. Like literally almost stalking her to an extent.
Oh, definitely
Like,
stalking her.
100.
He said he was out there for like, I come out here sometimes and watch for you.
I mean, that's what
Yeah.
we do, right? When you like someone, that's not what we do.
No.
Oh,
Man, yeah, I can't believe he didn't slide into her DMs. Like, that's
she won't follow him back.
Yeah.
how
yeah.
many issues of Play Twilight do you think he had in his secret box?
Yeah. Sean, what was in your private box?
Honestly,
He loves the Twilight.
you know,
20-sided
honestly,
die.
it would be no, I
Yeah, a
didn't
bunch
play
of
D&D.
dice.
It would have been hold on. It would have been growing up. My parents did not enjoy nerdy things like magic or D&D. So yeah, some of that was in there. Yeah. Luckily, my dad liked Star Wars, so I got away with that one. But
Nice.
I'll
Well,
bring this
I
up
think- oh, go ahead.
from super chat from Nathan Taggart. I tweeted
Man,
a question
that's-
out earlier asking people what they thought was in his box. Cyril's secret box is definitely a cringy shrine to Dedra, and that was like the major consensus of everyone. A lot of people said locks of her hair.
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh
how
my
he would have
God.
I hate
gotten
it.
that.
That's a good
but-
way to get killed.
That's
Well, that's
I hate it.
Sean, I actually think it tracks with Cyril's character because he just
Oh.
has failed. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't. I'm not saying that it doesn't track. I'm just saying like this is one of the more extreme things we've seen. Like this is our first time we're really getting that glimpse of
this side of him.
this side of him. I don't know. I didn't mean to jump that loud. I'm not saying it's not on brand. I'm just saying it's like kind of.
But I think you're also seeing kind of also some desperation for him, and that this is why these are the lengths he's going to clear his name, if you will, and find justice, and it's really telling about his psyche and how far he's willing to go to accomplish what he believes is the right thing to do. And when you believe you're in the right, those usually are the most dangerous people. And so everybody is sleeping on Syril, his mother, Dedra, and then he's going to end up doing something that people are going to have to notice. And it's very, the allegory towards our real world is quite on point and scary in a lot of ways.
Oh, for
Mhm.
sure. That's
Yeah,
our
and-
friend. Oh, go ahead, Molly.
I was just going to say, he's so far from what we've seen of him since he's gone back home. He's living in his own prison, basically, there. We see him in his room, just like staring out the window aimlessly. We see his mother just beating him down. Like, he's just living at such a miserable place right now that, like, yeah, he's getting desperate enough to go and stalk Dedra
Mhm.
because he thinks he can get through to her and they can work together to find Andor, and he's going to stop at nothing.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that he saw his interrogation as like a human connection and not like a brush with death, which it was. Our friend Mark at the Templin Institute did a really cool thread about this today, about just how he is kind of putting all of his thoughts and feelings about this onto Dedra, that he felt like, oh my God, they care what I say. Like, I'm providing value and they care about me when they do not. But he just keeps going down this path. Like, I have this thought that season 1 will end with Cassian is like, I will be a part of the Rebel Alliance or whatever it is at that point. And I think Syril will be like, I just put on my white ISB uniform for the first time. I think they're going to be on diverging paths.
Yeah,
but
the editor in me now is just thinking of a cross cut, like how they intercut Padme dying with Vader being born. You could do definitely like the beginning of his Imperial career. It coincides with the beginning of Cassian's Rebel career.
And Mark pointed out that like he's loving Syril's arc, but it only works if at the end of the day he figures out that they do not value him and never did.
Right.
And like if he's Mark threw out the idea that he'd be on the Death Star and like denied an escape pod or something like that, where like he gets himself really entrenched in the Empire, only to find out that like they don't care about people, not even you.
Or maybe when Tarkin says escape in our moment of triumph, I think you underestimate their chances and you rack focuses in the special edition to Syril behind him. Like, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, we ain't going anywhere, man. Yeah.
Cyril's a big fan of Tarkin.
Yeah.
I think the last... Oh, go ahead, Frank.
I was going to say, I think it's the relationships that Syril has in the show are between his mother and Dedra, and I think there are a lot of, or not a lot, but there is some similarity in the way he is communicated to between his mother and Dedra, and it's almost as if, Dedra's kind of talking down to him, but also kind of is more inquisitive about what he knows, whereas his mother is, yes, talking down to him and is telling him what he needs to do or what he should do, and so I think I feel like there's definitely a lot of mommy issues for Syril that are being kind of played out with Dedra as well, and I feel like there's some sort of connection there that I'm only just thinking about right now as I talk out loud. So I got to think on that more.
I think he has
whatever's in his private box even creepier.
Yeah, but I definitely think he has a thing for authority. And I think he sees a kindred spirit in Dedra and is being terrifying about it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think the last bit that we need to touch on is Mon Mothma is part of the story. And we learned that Vel is her cousin, which shocked me because I was on the she's Luthen's daughter train the whole time.
Yeah,
did that surprise anyone else?
Well, they kind of seeded it last episode where Cinta said something about her being a rich girl running away from her family.
Well, to me, that was more proof that she was Luthen's daughter.
Right.
I just took it and ran the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And I hadn't heard that until I watched your review today that she could be Luthen's daughter, and I went, damn, I wish she was Luthen's daughter. Because then it makes
you haven't been watching my videos up until this point. So
listen, Alex, hold on. That's not
Haven't heard
true.
until today. All right, fine.
Were you sad when Rey wasn't Kenobi's daughter too? Or were you bummed out when Rey wasn't Obi-Wan's daughter?
Me?
Yeah, I was.
I was. What are you talking?
But it's, damn it, Alex. I have been watching them. I just didn't get at that point before. No, but I was like, wait, my brain went like, wait, have I heard Alex say that? No, I haven't. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I was expecting her to be just the scion of some family, and she went running off. I didn't expect them to tie it in like this, and it is so good, especially seeing her interact with the daughter in that way, like in a positive way, where Mon is struggling so much to build that relationship and with Lita, and it's like it's so frustrating, all of it, like in a positive way. Like it's
better of a character now. How much more highly do we look at Vel too? Because like it's not like Vel is also giving up this life of decadence, life that Mon had. Mon's making her own sacrifices. So is Vel. Vel's more right there, out there in the field. But they're both. I mean, talk about the Mothmans or whatever you want. Mothmas.
Mothma.
Is it Vel Mothma then? I don't know. But
Perrin's last name isn't Mothma. I don't know how it works.
True. But yeah, I'd like to say that I think it ups the character of Vel too. Just knowing that like what she's giving up too. It's and risking.
Yeah, she's like, I think it's Mon Mothma when Vel is leaving. She says, "What have we done?" Like, and Vel's just like, "We chose a side.
Yeah.
What we're doing is right. It's going to be hard, but it's right."
I liked that. Yeah, Mothma got even a little bit of someone being like, "You're doing great. Like, here's a hug." She needs that.
I have my drawing now.
Ooh.
Okay.
There it is.
Oh,
If we want to bring that up,
I'm ready.
Okay, so there's a lot going on in this. So we got
That's wow.
Perrin's over here being an asshole. He's got stink
With
marks
stink
on him
lines?
'cause he stinks.
Stink. Yeah.
Vel is over here giving him the finger.
Wow, that's great.
Mon Mothma's trying to drink her tea and she's rolling her eyes. And then Lita's over here just fawning over the dress.
There is a lot going on in there, and
When Molly showed me that, I kept noticing more things. Just looking at the finger really got me.
the finger's great. Yeah, it's so
I like the
subtle.
drape. It's good
is she
drape.
sticking her tongue out? Is that?
She is, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that whole
That's-
scene, I loved all of their snide little remarks to each other and their reactions. And Perrin just finds ways to keep being terrible.
I also uploaded our reaction to Perrin saying, like, "Are you finally going to go get a husband?"
Oh.
And we both were just like, my eyes rolled out of my head, and I had to
Oh,
find them and
God.
put them back in.
Oh.
Well, it just
This
shows
guy.
that's a good line too. You love that line because it just shows. It's just without having to go on the nose with it. Like you don't care about me or don't ask about me. It's saying how much Perrin doesn't really pay attention or care about his family member. He doesn't even know. That-
Yeah.
And Vel's response of, "Well, all the good ones are taken,"
yeah.
and
Right.
Perrin elevates this show so much. Like
He does.
We would.
He does.
Like, we need
I
him
agree.
to be this terrible of a person to just feel even
Yep.
more.
That's
And
funny.
even,
There's Sly Moore. Good. We haven't
and
seen her
even-
yet.
I know, right?
God,
Kevin is the biggest Sly Moore fan you'll ever meet.
huge.
Talks about
Aw.
Pulls that hair.
every week.
Is she your Glove Shido?
Well, I learned about Glum Shido thanks to these
Nice.
guys. But, yeah, I just remember you name drop her. You just show a shot of her like drinking her champagne and with the apparated worm in it and just like rolling her eyes.
Yeah.
We love.
Yeah,
Sly.
that I think one of my new favorite things in this series is people roasting Perrin. And
Oh yeah.
him either not noticing, or I almost like it more when he does notice. When Tay said that line, "Charity starts at home" last week, and you see Perrin in the
I love
background
that
like
line.
turn around and look at him. Oh, I loved that so much.
So good. And like it's not even it's played so subtly too, which is like if you're not paying attention, you're not going to hear it. It's so I just love Tay is I think it's awesome. Tay is a great character.
We love
yeah.
Tay.
How long is he gonna live? Over under?
See?
How many more episodes?
Forever, he marries Mon Mothma, and they live happily ever after the Battle of Endor.
And they adopt that kid. They save the kid off of Jeddah, and they adopt.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I am curious a little bit because Mon and Perrin, they get married at 15, but Vel has not gone that route. So I don't know if it's like, is it like arranged marriages, like in the Chandrilan
I think
like
she
custom,
just
or it was
escaped.
just
I think she ran away because Mon Mothma mentioned her family looking for her, and we don't know how old she is or like how long she's been gone. So I think she just ran away from all that stuff.
And I don't know that it's like we have to do this
yeah.
for everyone. It's just probably some families are more tied to the customs than others. There's been that like tiny little thread of bringing up Shandrill and customs, whether it's for, I forget, Perrin's like name day or whatever they called it, Day of Days
Day of
in
Days.
episode 4.
Yeah.
And then we get the squigs and the
I'll
drink.
give him a day of days. Come on, Perrin. Put him up.
Also, when Perrin insinuates or points out that Tay and Mon have a history, or that he is her ex-boyfriend, and everyone's like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "No, it was just a grade school thing," but I don't know.
Yeah, Lita says that.
There's,
Yeah.
I
there's
don't think-
certainly
yeah.
chemistry there, but
I don't think they have a romantic past. I think there's potential now. But I'm also terrified of what
Perrin certainly thinks
Perrin
so.
actually, Perrin thinks that.
I
And
think
I mean, we
Perrin's
already saw what happened
rebellious
with Tim.
thoughts of that are going to lead to Tay's death. I think
Mm.
Perrin
Yeah.
assumes that, and that's.
I don't
gonna
think Perrin has that kind of power. He would like to think he does, but to have someone like him killed,
He's friends with Sly Moore.
that's true.
I'm sure
They're
he's got
party
a lot of
animals
nasty
together.
friends. Yeah, he's
and,
got a lot
and
of
one of the Imperial advisor guys, right? Isn't that the other person that he mentions in that scene?
Yeah. I forget which one specifically now.
Yeah, I can't either.
When she mentioned the gangster, you know, sometimes you forget about timelines and like where people are. When she at first mentioned the gangster, and I'm thinking, of course, I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna get Zero the Hut. You know, like,
That's where your mind went.
Get the timeline. You're like, oh, that would have been so rad. Zero in real life.
There is a part of me that wants something that crazy to happen in this show, like for Tony Gilroy to treat it very, very seriously, and then like Hondo Onaka kicks the door in.
God, I would love for Hondo.
Like,
I mean,
if he just went that way.
I don't think the Hutts are doing much business in the core worlds. I think they're more
Yeah, they're out of room.
out in the
Not
outer
anymore.
rim.
Yeah, if you have Filoni direct an episode, you know, everyone will show up. Ahsoka will, and we'll get Zero and Honda.
The idea of Zero like slithering into Mon Mothma's apartment.
Yeah,
It's kind of amazing.
Loving all the decor and all the decadence. It would be perfect.
That's
Speaking of, I have written down the Chandrillan flags are dope.
Oh yeah, they are.
Like,
I do like them.
Oh, interesting.
The blue, the colors. I just love everything about Mon Mothma's
I'll have to
apartment.
take a look at that.
And their outfits are fantastic too.
Yeah.
How many of you guys were looking for ET in the Senate scenes? Every shot, I'm looking for ET.
That would be funny.
I'm just
But
looking
that's
for
like
some
kinda-
damn respect for Mon Mothma, Kevin. That's what I'm looking for.
Maybe
I think
ET
that's
was
one of
gonna
the
be one
fun-
of the only ones that like, I agree.
Listen to her.
Listen to her.
Reese's Pieces. Yeah.
Well, like I love that about this show is that it is firmly set within Star Wars. But in theory, something like that could happen. It won't, but like it's
Right.
fun to imagine that wacky side invading Andor at some point.
That's just like sometimes a Star Wars fan, that's just the natural way that your brain works. You're just like, oh, insert character here, that would work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It'd be
what do
fun
we
to see a
think
new
about?
character. We'll get to meet a new character, right? This new gangster. So
I was about to ask, what do we think about Davo? I think his name is that.
what would be
She
really
might have
cool?
to make a deal with someone that she rather
A
wouldn't.
thug.
How
She
cool
called
of an
him a
Easter egg,
thug.
a meta Easter egg would it be if the character who plays this gangster would play it as, remember, if you ever seen the footage of Jabba the Hutt as a human that
Yeah.
was recorded on
Oh,
set?
yeah.
The big Scottish
Oh my
guy.
God.
you want a big
Oh,
Scottish
yeah.
man.
Yeah, like a jolly
That
old,
would be
like,
pretty
Irish
funny.
or
You
Scottish.
want a big Scottish man dressed like a barbarian.
Yes.
As-
Can you
yeah.
As a
imagine if you
Chandrillan
do that?
gangster.
And he's like, I'm
Okay.
Chandrillan. Like,
I'm just
okay.
saying, that would be a cool little meta homage.
That
You know
would
what?
be cool.
I'm with Kevin. I'm with Kevin.
You,
I will-
you think it's going to be a literal barbarian?
Yep.
Okay. I think what I'll say about this thug is, and as it pertains to Mon Mothma, as much as we're watching Cassian's transformation to what he becomes, we're also doing that with Mon Mothma here because eventually, she's going to have to do some things, some unsavory things that she'd rather not do, but have to do it in the interest of the rebellion. And it's starting here with having to go to this thug for this, this loan, whatever they're masking it as, for that withdrawal she took. with Tay and for that the charity foundation or whatever. So it's gonna be interesting to see how she gets herself to that place to do certain things that she would not normally do, but for the betterment of for the rebellion to succeed. So I'm really interested to see how over the course of the rest of this season and into next season what that looks like, because how far is she going to go? Where would she stop? That's all very, very interesting to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
I think-
that's such a go ahead, Molly.
I was going to say, I think because Tay brought him up and is suggesting to use him, I think he's probably going to be someone that would fit into any of their big fancy parties. He's going to be over the top and just, I think he'll fit in and not outwardly look like a thug, if that makes sense.
It would raise a lot of red flags if human Jabba walked in to Mon Mothma's apartment.
You're a wonderful human being.
Yeah. But that's like the classic Star Wars, how do you fight a fight like this without losing your soul? Whereas like Saw Gerrera is the version that loses his soul, loses his body in many ways, loses his sanity, where Mon Mothma is like the idealized, this is what a leader of a revolution should be, and exploring that. So I'm really interested to see if she makes a deal with this thug. Like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, you probably have to go ahead. Like that doesn't bug me, but it could lead to a path where she makes more and more difficult decisions.
Mon Mothma reminds me of what a Democrat is today, where they want to play by the rules while everyone else doesn't, and she wants to go do it in a certain way. Like she didn't agree with the Aldani stuff that Luthen was doing. She's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, we need to ramp this up, and she wants to go about it in a more, I guess, quote unquote, diplomatic way, a more humane way, if you want to put it that way, I guess. So she's not quite yet been driven to the point where it's like, okay, they're not playing by the rules. We're gonna have to break some rules of ourselves, and to your point, Alex, not entirely lose ourselves, going down this road. So, like I said, it's gonna be really interesting to see how they portray Mon going forward and the decisions she makes.
I think the show is kind of exploring like are people like Luthen necessary in a revolution like this? And I also think it's kind of Mon Mothma going on a path where she becomes a little more like Padme, who Padme was always like, diplomacy first, but I'll go into aggressive negotiations if I have to. And Mothma kind of starting
or
to
I'll make
head
my
that
boyfriend do it.
Right.
Tay.
My boyfriend's gonna beat you up.
Not Perrin.
Yeah, not my husband. My boyfriend's gonna beat you up.
I do think there were a lot of connections with just like real world politics, especially the scene of her in the Senate and people just like turning off their lights, like just giving up because they see that like she's not getting the majority vote on this. She's like speaking the truth, and you can hear a lot of people like agreeing with her, but just seeing all the senators give up and just shut off their lights because they're like, oh, what? There's no point in arguing. Yeah. It's
another
close to
form
home.
of how bleak this episode is. Even a scene as simple as a Senate scene
can
make you feel hopeless. Like that's how brilliantly crafted this episode was. And it goes into what you're talking about with the Senate.
If you have the subtitles on, I noticed it the second time. It's like 50-50 people yelling at her or yelling to listen to her, but it all just feels like attack.
But
none of it feels good.
The negative is always the loudest, right? Even though it's like 50-50, it's still the negative was much more overpowering in that scene.
I mean, assuming that most of those pods had people in them, from the amount of voices we did hear, most of them were just kind of sitting there.
And once again, I didn't see anyone sitting in the middle of the Senate in those seats.
Oh yeah, we all have our binoculars on.
I'm like,
who's there?
No Palpatine yet.
Dars Angor, that's the name, Sean.
Thank
the
goodness.
other advisor came.
Oh yes, okay.
12 minutes later.
What? Yeah. How? So does no one currently lead the Senate, from what we can tell?
Should be Palpatine or Masamita.
I am the Senate.
I think there's somebody in there. I don't know if it's Palpatine. I could see it being like Masamita and
Yeah.
Slimore.
I think
Or-
it's pretty
Yeah,
effective
yeah,
to
go
just have
talk,
no
go talk.
one there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it also shows, again, it kind of shows how little it matters to Palpatine, how little the Senate actually matters to the
Oh yeah.
inner workings of the Empire at this point.
Yeah, I think my chances are of Palpatine. Remember, I was way high on him appearing this season, like especially in like a. Let me remind you who the F I am to the Senate, but like after this episode, I don't know.
Last
I
episode.
feel like he doesn't care about it at all. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, I do feel
Speaking,
like. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of Palpatine, there was a moment when Dedra was talking to the rest of the ISB members, and she was talking about Marva, and she was like, "Oh, we're not worried about her.
Mhm.
She's very frail and weak right now." And I was like, "That's what people thought about Palpatine."
Yep.
But I also think that's a good point for Marva,
Yeah.
where it's like everybody on Ferrix loves her. When Syril and the Corpos were in her house, a crowd gathered outside of like, what's going on with Marva? What are you doing to Marva and B2 Emo? But I think that they're underestimating Marva, and she is going to help really galvanize people when
and
the
then
time
die.
comes.
And her last words will be, "Rebellions are built on hope."
It's that. It's a Nimix manifesto. We're trying to find where
We're gonna
Yeah,
get like
yeah.
a
One of the
3-person
two.
cut where someone says each word in the as like rebellions are built. On hope.
Kino actually
Right.
Kino has it as a tramp stamp. When he goes,
You think anyone has the
In
rebel
Old English?
insignia as a tramp stamp? Yeah.
Certainly, someone has to.
I hope so.
Wait, do you mean in
Why don't-
real life or in Star Wars?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Hey, I actually have to go because I have to get back to work.
Well,
So
I was
wanted
about to say, I think that's a perfect way to
So I wanted
end
to thank you
this
guys
part
for-
of the stream.
Thank
So
you guys
what-
for letting me come on.
Yeah.
And definitely check out at Scoundrels Inc. I'll let the other fellas, you guys can stay on. But wait till I tell you about my Clea is Leia theory.
Oh wow. What a jokester
Dude,
that guy.
That's
what
Rob.
a
He's Rob.
what a perfect out.
Yeah, just like Andor. I mean just the way the episode ended.
Well, yeah, we'll
Always
let
wanted more.
Frank and Sean get back to their afternoons here. So thank you and Kevin for hanging out, and we wish Brandon could have been here too. But everyone already, all the links are down in the description to your Linktree, Twitter for everyone individually and for the podcast. They just started a Star Wars podcast. They're great Star Wars people, so go check them out. But why don't you tell everyone what you do?
Well, we there's 4 of us, Kevin, myself, and Sean, and Brandon, the aforementioned Brandon. He's off in Europe doing European things. Lucky guy. But we get together. We do 1 episode a week right now, talking about Andors mostly right now, and we just we kind of just shoot the breeze and go through the episode, and we have a wacky good time, always cracking jokes and maybe making fun of someone's theories, Snoke theories, and it's just a lot of fun. We sit down and it's a good excuse to get together once a week and just have a chat about Star Wars and whatever else is going on in the Star Wars universe. And we're on YouTube, we're on all the social medias. You got to hit all of them these days. Instagram, TikTok.
Frank does all
Twitter.
that. I don't.
Yeah. You give moral support, Sean. That's what you do. You go, hey, great job, man.
And he's great at it.
Yeah, appreciate it. And so if everyone wanted, or whoever wanted to go check us out, Scoundrels Inc. on YouTube and every social media app you can think of, anyone. Also, we just started our podcast feed too on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere pretty much where you can get podcasts. All our past episodes of the our Andor reviews are up there. So if you want to instead listen as opposed to watch on YouTube, that'd be great as well. And just appreciate anyone who stops by and leaves a comment and engages in conversation like we're having here today. That's pretty much why all 4 of us are doing the show. We just really enjoy the conversation and the community, and it's been a lot of fun to even delve further into the community with the show and be more active in other social media platforms and what have you. So it's been a lot of fun, and I think we do have a lot of fun, and I think you'll see that if you tune in, from time to time.
I have been enjoying your TikToks.
Oh,
Yeah, your
Yeah.
TikToks and your shorts are very fun.
yeah, those are fun
Thank
to put together, and the guys, especially Brandon, he likes to do impressions, and he's got some good Jarl Poof. His Jarl Poof robot chicken was really great. If you haven't seen that
I was
one,
about to say, wait,
Yeah.
does he have like a robot chicken one, or just
Yeah.
did he make up his own voice?
well,
How
Kevin
long
made
ago
up his
was
own
it?
voice. Kevin made up his own voice for Jarl Poof, and then Brandon did the robot chicken voice, which they're both equally great.
How long till he brings on a puppet? Some
I-
Star Wars puppet.
I'm trying so hard.
We did talk
Kevin.
about this.
Kevin doesn't believe me that the puppet exists because he doesn't watch anyone else's stuff on YouTube.
Oh, fair.
But I want Ralph on the show so bad. I
That
mean,
would be
Christmas
great.
is coming up. It's time.
I mean, I think Ralph could rival a Grogu. Honestly, dress
all
him up
think
as
that, right,
Grogu.
Molly?
We can dress him up as Grogu.
What'd you say,
Just
Alex?
get a burlap sack. Yeah, we all think Ralph is as good as Grogu.
Yeah, we all agree.
We all
All right,
know.
well,
Hot take.
Thanks both of you
Thanks.
for taking some time out of the middle of your afternoon to chat Star Wars.
Oh,
with
this
us,
is
but
great.
We
Hey,
love
I got to
y'all.
leave.
So
I got to leave work early. I'm not complaining.
you're welcome. Well, have a great rest of your evening. I know you're gonna go talk about Andor some more. I guess
Yeah.
will your episode about this episode be out tomorrow or tonight?
Yeah, so we record on Wednesday nights because all of us have like 9 to 5 jobs, and then
Right.
the episodes come out Thursday morning. So you could look for them right when you wake up, whenever you wake up.
10 Pacific,
Yeah,
10
10.
Pacific.
Yeah,
which
10
is
Pacific, which
math.
is
One
one
over here, 1 Eastern.
1 Eastern.
Eastern.
So keep an eye out for that. Frank and Sean and Kevin and Brandon are all dear friends of ours through the Schmodown and just general friendship. So go check them out, please do. They just started. Go give them a
Appreciate you guys.
sub
Appreciate you for
Thanks
having us.
for
on,
having
and,
us.
Yeah. And we'll
anytime.
and Alex, I always watch your videos, unlike Sean, and
Yeah.
I will continue to watch them.
Oh,
God damn
I'm
it.
glad.
Oh,
I'm
the
glad I know who
flattery.
the real friends are here.
The shade.
All right, guys.
Cool. Have a great
you.
rest of your
See you
evening.
guys.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya.
bye, guys.
And we are going to take a quick break because this episode is again sponsored by the Rings of Power podcast. So
Completely different
I'm gonna-
franchise that we can nerd out about.
Yeah, but still a show that I enjoyed greatly. And they have a podcast of their own on Amazon Music. I'm going to play that ad and I'm going to be right back. Go deeper into the canals of Numenor, the mines of Khazad Dûm, and more with the official The Lord of the Rings of Power podcast. Host Felicia Day and several special guests provide an inside look at the groundbreaking series and what it took to bring Middle-earth to life. Each episode of the official podcast features exclusive interviews with the series showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, including the very first full breakdown of the incredible season finale. Felicia also goes behind the scenes with the cast and crew to bring you jaw-dropping stories and Easter eggs you won't want to miss. Watch The Rings of Power on Prime Video and listen to all 8 episodes of the official The Lord of the Rings of Power podcast for free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app now.
Look at you.
Much better.
I fixed
Didn't
my
have
hair.
to scramble this time.
I don't know how much I fixed it, but I redid my hair. You got another drink. We are on program.
Thanks, Elliot. Off program. We're back on program. Okay, let's dive into some questions from chat. That was fun. I like those guys a lot.
They're the best. They have a really good mixture of deep Star Wars lore knowledge, especially Kevin knows a lot about legends, and then like kind of more surface level silly stuff. So it's a good time.
Oh yeah, Kevin makes short films about KOTOR as well.
Oh my god, yeah, we should
check
brought
those
that
out.
up.
Yeah. Oops. Well, I brought it up now. But let's dive into some questions.
Yeah,
And
we got a lot of questions to cover.
I meant to bring up the first one right away, and I forgot.
Let me scroll all the way up. Here we go. Yeah.
Because Muhammad Ali, before we even started, sent this in. Thank you so much, Muhammad. That is insanely generous. We hadn't even done anything at all yet, much less it could have been a garbage show tonight. You don't know. But thank you. I hope it wasn't.
I hope, yeah. Whoa. But yes, thank you so much for the very generous super chat.
Yes.
I hope we
Um,
were worth it and entertaining enough.
I feel like it was a good chat, but
Yeah.
I hope it lived up to Muhammad's standards. But our next one here is from Rain Man. Thanks, Rain Man. Is there a reason that the prison cells look eerily similar to the rooms on the Galactic Star Cruiser Disney thing? I actually did see that tweet you're referring to, and it's pretty funny. I think I liked it. Someone said it is insanely funny to me that the Galactic Star Cruiser, it mostly resembles the prison out of anything else in Star Wars. Just like the
Do
room,
they
it's
have bunk
very
beds and stuff?
yeah. There's bunk beds. It's very white and orange. Let me see if I liked it so I can pull up the comparison. But yeah, the Galactic Star Cruiser looks a lot like the prison, but slightly nicer.
Interesting. Well, I think when people design stuff like this, they're like, it's a bedroom, but make it Star Wars. And so a lot of the same elements get put into these designs without them really realizing it. Like we noticed that the prison cells looked very much like IKEA rooms.
Yeah.
And that kind of fits with other Star Wars designs. So I can see where like those could overlap a little bit.
Here's the picture the tweet used.
Oh, yeah.
Just yeah, like white, orange are the main colors, little bunk beds. There's a big old bed in there too.
That
It looks
Those are for the kids.
yeah, I think so.
I don't know. The thing that bothers me the most about their prison cells in Andor is they don't have blankets.
Mm-mm.
That's the worst torture. No blanket.
Here's the thing, like I feel bad, but the production design on this series is so good. The set design, everything, is that every time I see something new, I go, ooh, cool first. And then I remember that I'm like, oh no, that's Syril's like cubicle in a sea of cubicles. It's not a good thing. And then I saw the prison bunk beds thing, and I was like, that's kind of neat. And I was like, wait, nope, that's a prison. Stop it. But
I
just
didn't think it was neat.
the plate goes into the wall.
That's a very like man thing to think though. Like everything has its place. It all goes back on the wall. You just drink and eat out of tubes. It's easy. You don't have any dishes to clean.
Yes, all of that is accurate.
I get
But
it.
yeah, like I do think that there probably is some link there in the idea that they need to fit a lot of people into a small space.
Mhm. I'm gonna go to Cindy's next because I scrolled all the way up, so I'm gonna go in order because I think we brought this one up earlier. Another
On program.
on program,
That's Elliot's just keeping us honest. We're on program, we're off program.
and we appreciate it. This one comes from Cindy K. Thanks, Cindy. Perrin is a selfish jerk, but what is he really up to? He's observing Mon and her interactions at all those parties. Secret mole, rebel, red herring. I think he's just a jerk that
Yeah.
is controlling of his senator wife because he wants to keep living his lavish life, but he wants to make sure she doesn't stray too far.
And he's also like disparaging it and being like, oh, I hope you don't go into politics. Everyone in politics is boring. It's like, dude, everything you have is because of politics.
Mon is right there. Yeah, that was so lame.
But yeah, that observation of, I think it was that this episode? No, it was last episode where she's like, hey, where did Tay go? And he said he had an early meeting or whatever, and he left. And then Mon walks away and you see him watching her. I think he's just jealous. I think he is, even though they like hate each other, I think he is jealous.
I think he's jealous, but I think it all really comes down to the fear that he has of like not being able to live this super cushy life.
Yeah, that's a good point. That
and
he's like, if she divorces me, where do I go?
And he feels like a good dad because he can make Mon the bad parent, the one that's always busy, always doing other stuff, and he's there for Lita to be the one, because Lita says in this episode, like, Perrin lets me do whatever I want. So
Mhm.
he's the good parent, Mon's the bad one. So like from his standpoint, he's living a great life and he doesn't want any of that to change.
Yeah.
And he's
What does he
afraid
even
that
do?
he's afraid that the more Mon argues against stuff that the Empire is trying to do, like the PORD stuff, he's probably afraid that like she'll quit or they'll get rid of her or something. I don't know what
Yeah,
he
it's
does.
kind of. I don't think he does anything, but it is kind of like Kino in that way. That Kino just wants to keep his head down, serve his time, put up with whatever rules. I'll get out eventually. Like Perrin probably doesn't want Mon Mothma to rock the boat too much. He just
Mm.
wants to, yeah, like, can we just not live a comfortable life? Again, and that goes back to like episode 6, where the Empire talked about how they weaponized Aldani like comfort. We put up comfort stations
Mhm.
so that they'll basically be distracted and not care about anything else. Like, man, the themes of this show are so good. Everything
They're awesome.
like connects.
I did see this comment. I think he is some kind of ex-military from. Did Chandrilla have a military?
Yeah, I assume so. I mean, she called him a firebrand from the academy in the last episode. He said that the governor of Hannah City was his like regiment mate. So yeah, I think he was in the military at some point. Now, trophy husband, I think he literally just sits around all day in his robe.
Yeah, and well, if he did have some sort of job, being ex-military, I feel like he could pose as an advisor in just about any position anywhere because he has experience. So I think they could put him in just about any very easy job. He definitely Skypes in from home. Skype? No, Zoom.
He probably just cleaned the latrine.
No one uses Skype anymore.
I'll bring up just because our good buddy Kevin Smets just popped back in to say, thanks for having us on. Enjoyed talking shop with you and also the fans in chat. Love y'all. See you for the Kino is Snoke Revelation recap episode. If that happens, Kevin, the channel's yours for a day.
Ooh,
I'll throw that out there. There are the stakes. If it turns out that Kino is Snoke, or if Snoke is a clone of Kino or something along those lines, like, you get to do a video all about it.
I would
just
love
hand over the keys to the channel.
That would be really fun. Trying to scroll back up to the top without ending the broadcast. I almost ended it. Oops.
We have it. This is a digital handshake.
Elliot Finn again. How dare this show be so good?
Honestly, like,
how
dare it? I'm loving watching it. It is the intersection of obviously Star Wars I love, but also these just dramas like this that are focused on the characters and how they change. Like we just finished watching Better Call Saul a month ago, maybe, and it feels like it's along those lines.
Yeah.
But also there are blasters and spaceships and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I've seen some people say stuff where it sounds like they're putting all the other Star Wars shows down by lifting this one up, but I think that might just come out in the way that some people are praising the show, and that might not be what they actually mean. Like saying this puts other shows to shame. Like I get that thought process, and like sometimes I think it too, with just how well written everything is, but it's just such a different show than anything we've seen so far.
I mean, I'll flip the script on that a little bit, and I'll say The Mandalorian puts Andor to shame when it comes to like the pulpy, fun side of Star Wars. Let's face it, the past 2 episodes did not have a lot of hope in it. They're not fun in like the lighthearted sense. I'm having fun watching it and seeing everything unfold, but I understand when people are like, this is not really what I come to Star Wars for. I
Yeah.
get that.
I
Like,
wonder, like, as far as rewatchability goes, like, do you think Andor is going to be a rewatchable show that people are going to be like, you know what, want to watch again? Andor.
right. Like, I think so. I can definitely see myself watching this again, but I mean, I've only seen Breaking Bad like twice. I think it's phenomenal. Same with something like The Wire. I've seen season 1 a handful of times, but I don't think I've rewatched the entire season ever. I watch seasons at a time, or maybe sometimes episodes, but like that's a heavy show. Whereas The Mandalorian is like, yeah, let's throw The Mandalorian on and just like have some fun. And both are valuable. Both are equally as valuable. But I really appreciate that Andor is so different and just give me that variety. I love it.
I did bring that one up earlier. Yes, I'm still rocking the Halloween decorations. That's Grogu wanted to keep his costume on, so I can't say no to him.
Well, I'll point out real quick that I think we've rewatched every episode 3 or 4 times at this point, but that doesn't really count. Like we do watch them a lot while it's on. I'm trying to say, like, when the series is over and a couple years have gone by, I wonder when the next time is that I'll be like, we should watch Andor again. Like I'm in the mood for the prison arc of Andor, which I love right now, but
it's
also
hard to
Hyde
say.
Beach.
It's hard to say, like how we'll feel by the end of the first season once it's all done with, but it's just what you said about pulpy, silly fun. We're getting tons more of that in Mando.
Yeah, and like I think that's good for Star Wars, where at the end of Andor, I'm gonna be so ready to just go watch Grogu and his Mando dad do silly things and watch Din say, "Is this Jedi? Are you a Jedi?" Like that video
to watch
of
Din be dumb.
The video of Din not knowing he's in Star Wars for 7 minutes or whatever, it tickles me. It's funny. Just him like kind of bumbling around. Like I am so ready for that.
Yeah, I'm ready for more Bo-Katan. We could go on and on.
Yeah. I'm just saying both are great.
Let's see. This finds its way to just about any Star Wars show that we do. Daily gaming videos. What about the droid attack on the Wookiees? What about it?
I think that's long past, and now we have to worry about the Imperial attack on the Wookiees. I think the droid attack is over, and now it
the
just
Wookiees
went to another.
They're gonna end up on Kessel at some point. Some of them.
Yeah.
So let's worry about that.
Yeah. I think if you scroll up a little bit, I think there was one. Oh, never mind. Nope. We just had a couple super chats grouped together.
Okay. Yeah,
bad.
It's hard for me to read the grouped together ones if they're not just in order at this point.
I gotcha.
But we've got Elliot Finn, the next super chat. Rebellions are built on hope, but what happens when there is no hope and you have to choose to fight anyway? That's what this show is about.
I believe it was General Leia Organa that said hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you can see it, you'll never make it through the night. So that's kind of it. Like, isn't that from Sandman? We're a couple months away now, but when he is in that riddle kind of game with Lucifer, basically the unbeatable thing is hope. That the game was like Sandman says he is a flea, And then Lucifer says that it's a frog that it eats the flea. And then he says he's a snake that eats the frog. And that escalates. And she says something like, I am death and despair. And he says, I'm hope. And Lucifer cannot find something to beat hope.
She's like, oh,
So
dang it.
I think the truth is there's always hope. And that's something I'm tying in all of the fandoms here. Aragorn has said that too. Like there is never an absence of hope. It's just hard to feel sometimes.
Yeah, you can lose hope, but it comes back. That's you have to fight to keep it,
Mhm.
and you have to fight to get it back. Because like once you lose hope, there's nothing left. You just are going to accept your life in this prison or wherever it is and be sad all the time. Or you can choose to find hope. I don't know.
Right.
And it
That-
helps to have people around you to inspire hope.
And it's certainly not easy to hold on to hope in a place like Narkina 5. Like it's very grim and bleak, but that's like Frank said in his tweet, that rebellions are built on hope. It means more and more every episode of this arc, because we know they don't know, but we know they're gonna get out. Andor does not spend 6 years in jail when it's only 5 years until the Battle of Scarif. So
Yeah.
he's getting out. And I can't wait to see how.
And I mean, yeah, we can tie this all the way back to A New Hope, the very first Star War, and how this was all about Ben reuniting Luke and Leia. Like that is the new hope for the galaxy. It's for them to go forth and do their thing.
And thank you, everyone, congratulating me. I remembered Narkina 5. I have said it enough that I know Narkina 5 without hesitation now. I didn't even realize it.
Did you hear the composer said out loud the word Niamos?
Oh, he
And I
did?
think-
How do you say it? Is it Niamos?
I think it's Niamos.
Okay.
But go check Star Wars Twitter because there's a video that they posted of him talking about the music. And that song goes all the way back to the first episode when he's in that club, which anyways, blew my mind.
I love that song still.
Queersland Australia, thank you so much for the super chat. There are 2 ISB officers they keep focusing on. This episode, there are 2 who are late. Do you think there is something sus or foreshadowed with them?
Maybe that's a good point. What I was mostly noticing was how empty the rest of the room was. Like, haven't seen Blevin since.
That's a callback to A New Hope and their little table.
Yeah. Haven't seen Blevin since 7. That rhymes and it's fun. But yeah, that is interesting. That there was a group that was like, I guess I thought it was just showing that these people are falling behind Dedra. But there were only like 3 people in there. Like, where was everybody else? I don't know.
They probably are dealing with a whole mess of issues because of the PORD law passing. I don't know. They're all on their lunch break. And everybody left in that room works through their lunch break.
There's something sus about every member of the Empire. Like, I'm over here suspecting Dedra's aide. I forget his name, but I thought he was a little too much of an eager beaver this episode. That he was like helping Dedra, but I also kind of got the sense that maybe he's going to make a power grab at some point. I don't know. I'm suspicious of all of them. But Trippy Dippy has the next one. Thank you, Trippy. Last week we predicted
in order for the chat.
Oh, my bad. Okay, I'll wait for you then.
No, you can go ahead and read it.
Although I think that is the next one. Trippy Dippy says, last week we predicted that Loy will die. Do you still think Loy will die or sacrifice himself still now that he is 100% on Andor's side?
We missed one from Jane, but I'll get to that one.
We may have brought that one up.
Did we?
Was it about Kino Loy sticking around in the
yeah.
show? Yeah.
Never mind. We read that earlier.
I do think Kino's gonna die, but just because I'm sad too, Molly. I'm trying to prepare myself because I already like him a lot. Like after last week, he has already come around to the point where I'm digging him.
I could see him going out with this with some kind of sacrifice, though, because he obviously cares about the men in there a lot, enough to know their names and have nicknames.
Well, he's come over to the side where now I'm like, I want you to live. I want you to make it off. He wants his freedom, but maybe what he's done so far, we don't know what he did to become manager, but I do think that saves him from potentially being electrocuted every shift, because there are 49 people at tables and there's one manager, and it's the losing table that gets shocked. So I feel like he did something to like get up the ranks. So maybe like the sins of his past. I don't know. I'm just trying to prepare myself because I like him now. I want him to survive, but
I want him to have like a big heroic moment or something.
Right. I don't know. Just the way the series has been of like, let's introduce you to a bunch of characters. A lot of them just died. Like that's what happened on Aldani. So I'm kind of expecting something similar to happen next week.
Sure. I like this one a lot because I saw a tweet that he posted about this from Maddie Gunner. What song would be each of your torture songs? Scoundrels Inc. rules and Perrin still sucks. Yes. So what song would they play for you to be just absolute torture?
Do you remember that song? It still comes on occasionally, but and she's looking at you, like that, just like the over and over and over. I could not stand that song when it was on.
Copyright strike with that accurate
because I nailed it.
portrayal.
I'm sorry. Forgive me, YouTube. That song, it just kept on coming on the radio, and it was that sound over and over. I'm done. I'm over it.
I think it's past now. I think that one's kind of moving on out.
Yeah.
But mine would be, there's a story behind this one. So in high school, I drove a 1996 Crown Victoria, and there was a lot of stuff wrong with it. You know, over the years, random things would stop working, blah, blah, blah. Something that happened, the radio got stuck on Radio Disney. Couldn't get it off. If I wanted to listen to anything, it was stuck on Radio Disney. And at the time, the Disney version of Mambo No. 5 played every hour on the hour. I'm not kidding. They're like, a little bit of Mickey in my life. It's so bad and so dumb. And like every time I turned the radio on to see if maybe I could change it, that song was playing. Absolutely not. Yeah, the Kids Bop version, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the Disney version of that song is, absolute torture.
I don't think Kids Bop existed when Radio Disney first started.
No, but that's the idea. It was Mambo No. 5,
idea.
But with Disney characters.
Jamie Rochin has the next super chat. Thanks, Jamie. Who do you want to survive Andor's first season? I'm really rooting for this Cassian guy.
Yeah.
I think
he'll
make it.
Sad to lose him.
Yeah.
I want Vel to live. Vel and Senta, leave the space lesbians alone.
I'm iffy on Senta just because she's so like intense. I want her to survive too, but I'm afraid that the way she is, I don't want her to die. I would love to keep exploring her and Vel together, but I think they're kind of touching on this idea that if you devote yourself solely to the cause and you leave behind the people you love, that it makes you cold, and it makes you more like Luthen or Saw, where I don't think that that's within the spirit of the rebellion, where Mon Mothma still devotes herself to people that she loves and feels every loss. But I don't know. I think that really it's just anyone on Ferrix. I think they're in danger because I feel like the last 2 episodes are going to be very Ferrix focused. So that's where I want everyone to live.
And that's where Cinta is right now.
Yeah.
They
I want
didn't
Brasso
have-
to make it. I want Bix to make it. I definitely, if I can only choose one, it's B2 Emo.
Yeah. Oh, if he gets taken out in the show, there will be riots in the street. In our street, at least.
In our street, the 2 of us just like, how dare you, smashing bottles. The HOA is gonna come out.
Oh no!
Give us a letter.
Yeah, I don't know. That last scene that we saw Bix and Cinta together, Bix was being being pretty cold and saying like
Cinta.
Cinta was being cold. Saying like, I'm just a mirror for you. You see in me what you want to see. And like, I do worry that Cinta won't make it out, but she made it off Aldani somehow.
Oh yeah. Oh, I keep expecting them to follow up on that because we saw her on her little space scooter, and then she was just on Ferrix.
She's hardcore. She finds a way.
Like, I just don't even know what those 2 scenes were for. The one with the Star Destroyer, I'm like, okay, the Empire's coming to crack down on Aldani, but I don't know what I feel like we could have gotten Cinta to Ferrix with a line from Clea where she was just like, she's on her way to Ferrix. She got off Aldani, but it seems a little odd that we know she was on Aldani a little longer, but don't know why. So I want them to follow up on that.
I don't think it matters.
I'm just curious.
Can't connect every dot with a line.
I must. I have to.
Sweet Feet Pete has the next super chat here. Do you think strokes are fixable in Star Wars and the Empire just didn't care enough to offer that treatment? Because seems sus that Anakin can be fixed, but a stroke is game over. Well, a stroke is very neurologically damaging. I don't know that they could stick your head in Bacta and fix what a massive stroke, as he called it, that the damage that would do. Anakin had a lot of damage, obviously, but like the fire cauterized all of it, so his major organs were okay. His brain was okay. But stroke offers up some pretty severe brain damage. So I don't know.
It feels to me like it's something that in the Star Wars universe might be detectable and preventable. But obviously the Empire's not going to do that. So yeah.
He did say he had seen him before. So like
that's true.
That shows us that he's been having health issues this whole time, and the doctors there probably are just like, he's probably going to die here, and we're not going to do anything about it.
I can see it going either way, honestly. Like if in a future story, I don't know why, like seeing a stroke in Star Wars is already a little bit weird. But if someone in the future has a stroke and then they fix it somehow, then I'll be like, okay, well then, yeah, the Empire just didn't want to do that. Right now, what I think it's saying is that he had a stroke and maybe he could have been, I mean, he definitely could have been put on life support or something, but it's like, no, the Empire's not going to do that. Get him out of here. Like,
yeah, a lot of people in chat are also saying he was a med tech, they didn't really call him a doctor, so we don't know what level of medical education he actually has. He just has his little briefcase of medicines that he can, and like one of those little head temperature check things.
Yeah.
And a
It's also
flashlight.
pretty impressive that Maddie and Nathan Taggart said like almost verbatim the same thing.
Mhm.
Well done. But yeah, that's true. That I think he's probably given a very standardized Imperial checklist of like, if this is the ailment, this is what you do, and if it's above this line, euthanasia.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it probably works the same way in a lot of prisons, like in real life.
I don't know. Like, I spent a lot of episode 8 talking about like Amazon and corporations and how they treat people, and I was listening to Force Center, great podcast if you've never listened to it, but Joseph Scrimshaw was talking about the documentary 13th, which I have not seen but want to now, which is about like the use of slave labor in the prison system and how much more real it is than I knew. So like I
Yeah.
really want to watch that documentary soon. But
Well, I will say, not to get like too dark and personal, but like my dad passed away years ago at this point, but he was in prison, and he had like a plethora of medical issues that the doctors in the prison were like, he gets what he gets as far as the kind of care that he gets, and the doctors there just did not care. So I imagine that happens a lot.
yeah, I mean, it kind of goes off of the, if you're doing nothing wrong, then what do you have to fear? And then once you get into the prison system, people are like, well, they obviously did something wrong, so now they are considered to be less than. And it's just like this chain of terribleness all across the board.
Mm-hmm. Sucks.
It sucks.
I got really sad when the Olaf stuff happened.
That makes sense.
But I don't think they could have fixed a stroke victim with Star Wars space magic.
Mm.
Another one from Sweet Feet Pete. Melshi is the Meg Griffin of the prison. Oh no!
I think that came in when Sean said he wanted to put on the "Shut Up Melshi" shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Oh yeah.
they were, shut up, Meg.
I think Jane has another one.
Okay.
All the Sweet Feet Pete ones got grouped
Wait,
together.
you just go in order. That going in order is fine.
Okay. Next one comes from Jane. Do y'all think that they will attempt to break out when Olaf's replacement comes, or will they call the doctor to get the elevator lowered to them? That's a good point.
So they were talking about the elevator. Yeah, so they want to get it like stuck halfway down so then they can like Donkey Kong their way up the rafters. Well, the doctor, let's see.
The doctor was there. I mean, someone was coming with a body bag, so
yeah. So the doctor's going to leave, but then like someone could get hurt with the machinery. I don't know. Either way, I think either makes sense.
I think it makes sense that it will be his replacement because earlier they said the guards only come here when someone dies and to bring in their replacement. So
that's true. Yeah, we don't know what happens if someone gets injured. I would assume they'd bring in a med tech, but yeah, with Olaf's death, it seems like now's the time to move.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
You're so ready.
I'm so ready.
About to Leroy Jenkins their way out of that prison, and I can't wait for it.
Why, Matthew Byron, thanks for the next super chat. Why do you think Dedra is denying that she helped Syril get a promotion?
I think she just honestly knows that she didn't directly have anything to do with it. I think that was a mental tactic of Syril's to be like, thank you, even though he doesn't know that she was responsible. Thank you for doing that. And then
Yeah.
she has to be like, well, that wasn't me. But then maybe that whole day, the rest of that day, she's thinking that whatever she did lead to that. So like that's a whole other level of a mind game.
So she said in episode 8 that I will tell your supervisor that you were of service to the Empire. And then in this episode, he said something like, you got me that promotion. And she was like, I just gave you a clean bill of health, as in, I just said you were good to go. Like the ISB approves this person. And then you got a promotion. So I don't think she was necessarily denying that I don't think she was trying to get him a promotion or help or anything. But it also might be a bit of fear of just like, no, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been joking about, like, I see in the chat their ship name, and people have been joking about, like, oh, he's got a little crush, but it is predatory behavior, and it's meant to be scary.
He's just waiting there for her, and he was like honest about it, but that doesn't make it better. He was like, I would never lie to you. It's like, you're scaring the shit out of me.
Classic.
And I'm not even there. I'm watching it through my TV screen.
Yeah. And it's fine to joke about this stuff to an extent because it is, after all, Star Wars, and Syril is kind of easy to be the butt of a joke.
Yeah.
But as long as you do understand that, like, this is very predatory behavior and like he's up to no good.
I'd like to just, I'll bring it up again because the whole time we were just not having it. Like I was not expecting that.
Those our faces.
I get it, but
just like it shows just how skin crawly we were feeling at the time. And like right after that happened, you were like, I did not expect him to go in that direction with her. Mm-hmm. And it was like unexpected and creepy in any ways. Yeah.
And like Molly, you pointed this out. And I think
Andy said he's more of a creepo than a corpo.
But someone pointed out that this was like the first time we've seen Dedra really shaken up. And it's like, yeah, because it's messed up what he's doing.
Yeah. She like goes into her office and she's talking to that other guy and he leaves. And she's like, you can see just in her body language that she's like, what just happened? She's going to be thinking about that all day in the back of her mind and worrying when she leaves, probably if Syril's out there somewhere waiting for her.
Mm-hmm. And the next super chat from Tollyman is relevant. It just says, Syril takes the crown from Anakin as worst flirt in the galaxy. Yeah, because I mean, whatever Anakin was putting down, Padme picked it up. Like,
to be fair, though, Anakin grew up since he was 9 at the Jedi Academy, and they're not teaching any flirting social skills there.
And as far as we know, Anakin never went to the Senate building and waited. He hadn't seen her in 10 years. Even though he like kept thinking about her, he let her live her life.
Yeah. But then he was very insistent in Attack of the Clones. Uh-oh. It's that time again when the AirPods die. Let me scroll down to the next.
It's that time again.
That's what I just said. Did you get it? Hook back in? Oh, the sounds. You good? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read this super chat from Joel Davis. Yeah. Okay, you're good now. We both said it's that time again, which is just funny.
What?
We both said it's that time again about the AirPods. This super chat comes from Joel Davis. Hot take. I kind of want Mothma's daughter to be a little, quote, Palpatine youth and maybe live live to be a First Order supporter in the future, go full dark side.
That's a hot take. I don't want anyone to be Palpatine youth. I don't want anyone to be evil.
But I mean, they're out there, and like that would just be such a twist of the knife to Mon Mothma. We've talked about like what happens to Lita eventually, because we don't see her later in her life. Mon Mothma's eventually becomes very busy in leading the rebellion or helping to lead the rebellion. So I could absolutely see her daughter choosing to stick with the Chandrilan like traditions and just live a very different life over following whatever her mom wants to do, which is like, it sucks, but I could see that happening.
Yeah. I'm hopeful that she goes the other way, that she is actually more of a rebel than we think. I don't know, that one little line about the squigs and her being like, yeah, they're gross, and like they finally connected about something. I'm probably reading way too much into that, but I want them to be on the same page.
Well, and we also got that very quick scene of she was in the foreground and she was out of focus, but it was when like Mon Mothma and Perrin were talking to people at that window in the last episode, and you see Lita walk through the frame just slightly out of focus, and she's eating like a cookie, what looks like a frosted cookie, and she's kind of like looking around. So she has like a little rebellious side.
A little bit of rebel in her. She'll steal a cookie if she has to.
I mean, that's just a teenager for you, but yeah, I am curious to see where she ends up. And Eric Bruno.
That's yeah, coming from our talk about or Kevin's talk about babies earlier.
I'm biologically programmed to run to crying kitties. Aren't we all? I would run to a crying kitten before a crying baby.
They're both
That's
babies.
I would just assume, not my baby. The parents got to be around there somewhere. They'll get it.
That baby can take care of itself.
Now, if it goes on and on and on, I'll bring the baby the kitten and see if that helps.
There you go. Justin Carter has the next one. Thank you, Justin. We have the screams of dying children for torture, a guy with euthanized and some unalived themselves last episode. Really shows Imperial tyranny. Yeah. I mean, like we said, this show has really made the Empire's evil personal. It's always been bad, but like it hasn't felt this real before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Imperials have always been. I saw someone on Twitter say they've kind of always been very mustache twirly, like a classic cartoon villain might be, but we're like really putting them in the spotlight for the atrocities that they've committed over the years.
So many Star Wars stories show them as being like evil but beatable. You know, they're bad, but like, oh, Ozzel is an idiot. The stormtroopers can't hit anything. TIE fighters are easy to kill. Like, there's a place for that, but Andor is very much like, this is bad if you let it continue, and it needs to be stopped, and here's why.
Yeah, it shows you why the rebellion was so desperate to do what they did. Like, they've lived under this kind of oppression and circumstance for too long.
Yeah.
Another one from Justin Carter. After this episode, don't care how many were on the Death Star when it was destroyed. Screw them all, because the Empire has hurt and killed too many innocents.
Yep. And I mean, that's always kind of been the thing. People have always said, oh, you know, people, there were millions of people on that Death Star, and everyone was like, yeah, well, there were millions of people on Alderaan too. But like now, just seeing how complicit every Imperial seems to be, It really doesn't do anything for that argument.
Mm-mm. What was it recently? Oh, it was Princess and the Scoundrel, where she was on the Halcyon and someone was talking about like their relative being on the Death Star.
Yeah,
And
like their
how
son or something.
that was just like, yeah, it was the parents talking about their son. That was like a whole other like level of conversation that we haven't really explored in
Mhm.
Star Wars much. And Leia was like, I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough conversation, but sorry, your son was a fascist, and like, go watch Andor, lady, and maybe you'll feel different.
Yeah. Nathan Taggart, thanks for the next super chat. Syril's secret box is definitely a cringy shrine to Dedra. Yeah, I brought that up earlier. For sure. For sure.
It's nothing good. I don't think I want to know. It's kind of like the torture that I don't want to hear it. I also don't want to know what's in Syril's private box.
Yeah.
Gio Flores, thank you for the next one. Syril is in his own prison while Cassian is in an actual prison, and they're going about escaping in different ways, and I love that. Yep,
Mhm.
agreed. Parallel storytelling, well, diverging parallel, I don't know. But yeah, I think one's going to end up in the rebellion, one ends up in the Empire, and we go from there.
Yeah, their ideas of freedom are very different. They're on both sides, and just every time they show Syril sitting at his window looking out to that one sliver of sunshine that he gets per day, yeah, he is living in his own version of prison.
Yeah, which is a great shot. I love that moment.
Mm-hmm. Justin Carter with another super chat here. Thank you, Justin. Do you think Dooku would have served the Empire?
I kind of assume so.
I think he might have been against it at first, but he might be around the same, like same as Yularen, and in that I assume they just kind of went with the flow. I mean, Yularen does feel like a stickler for order. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Dooku, after everything he's been through, probably could have been talked into just about anything. I don't know.
I feel like he would have been like, I've gone too far. I might as well keep going on with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that feels like it tracks after Tales of the Jedi. But like his whole thing was to fight corruption, and the Empire definitely doesn't seem like it's doing that. I don't know. I do wonder what Palpatine's plans were for Dooku if he had survived to that point.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about, though, because just after seeing the Tales of the Jedi stuff, we know a little bit more of what Dooku was going through. And if he survived and then assumed all the Jedi were dead, but then Vader is still in power with Palpatine, I don't know. He might just be like, I'm going to go live with Obi-Wan in the desert.
Yeah,
screw all you guys.
Yeah, I think that Tales of the Jedi showed if Sidious can convince Dooku to kill Yaddle, I think he would have convinced him to do like Dooku was doing terrible stuff throughout the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I think he probably would have continued down that path.
Yeah. I can't remember if we brought this one up already or if that was a different one.
I don't think so.
But thanks for another super chat, Yugo Ease. Cinta's quote, "The rebellion comes first," is going to carry over to Mon, and she's going to make some hard decisions in terms of her family and Tay. I mean, I think Mon for sure has some hard decisions to make going forward, but
I don't know. I don't think Mothma's going to go that route. I think that Cinta said that and believed it. I think Vel said that and did not believe it. but was trying to convince herself because that's what Cinta said. I mean, I don't think if Mothma had to choose between Rebellion and Perrin, that's one thing, but Rebellion and Lita, that's a harder decision.
Yeah. I think that quote was meant to show how it's following through to Vel. And even though she's going back home and temporarily living her life as a rich girl again, she's still very much like, we've chosen a side and we're going to fight for it. And yeah, Mon Mothma seems, she's just struggling, she's got too much on her plate. She's trying to juggle too many things. She's trying to be too many versions of herself.
She has been having a rough go of it. And I feel bad for her.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think as time goes forward, like I said about her daughter, maybe they make those decisions for her. And the daughter just, like, maybe she goes off and gets married and she's like, I don't need you, Mom. Which would be sad. But
I would prefer that over Palpatine youth or whatever. Just like, go be your own person.
I guess so.
Neil R. Adamson, thank you for the next super chat. Syril grew up learning that every relationship is only transactional through his mother. Yeah. I put you back on your feet, and what do I reap? He has value to Dedra, so he thinks it's a deep connection. I think that's a great observation.
That is really good.
Yep.
It's all like a give and take. The mother is always expecting something out of him.
And she only, like this episode, she only stops berating him when he's like, I got a promotion. Mm-hmm. And she's like, a return on my investment, as she kind of put it. Like, yeah, that's a great way to put that, is that every relationship is a give and take. And
he thinks he has
well said.
He thinks he has so much to give to Dedra and to the ISB. He's like, I can help you with this problem.
Yeah. I have information. I was a good corpo. I can help you find Andor. Yeah. He does think that he can give, and in doing so, maybe Dedra will like him a little more. Or the Empire, or both. But I think that it was very, very eloquently said.
Very astute.
Mm-hmm.
Which we love. I was just going to say, we love those kinds of connections because it makes us feel almost as smart as Ken and Joseph over on
I was going to
Center.
say, yeah, like I hear Joseph talk and he'll say something that I feel but don't know how to say. And he says it so well and so simply. And I can't find those words.
He's very used to using words to talk about stuff. He's been doing this longer than we have, and he writes short stories and short films. All good stuff.
Everyone watch or listen to Force Center. Go check out Joseph Scrimshaw's YouTube channel. He just put a short out that was really funny that has Ken and Mark Ellis in it. It's lots of fun.
Power Rangers Rock, thanks for the next super chat. What if the thug is Lando or Han? I don't think it's going to be Han.
I mean, Tay Kolma knew him as a Chandrillan banker. If freaking Lando walks through that door, I could kind of see it. I can kind of see him conning his way into that. But
wait, oh, you said Chandrillan banker. I heard baker.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
They have their own, the Great Chandrillan Bake Off. You've never seen that?
I would watch that in a heartbeat.
Paul Coruscant is one of the judges. He's great. He's a little mean, but get out of here.
Get out of here, funny man. Stop it.
We're big Bake Off fans in this family. So, but no, I don't think Lando or Han, especially not Han. There's no way he can pull that off. Lando, I could kind of buy,
They would
but no.
smell Han's BS from a mile away. He's just not very good at what he does, and it's so funny to see.
We've seen him lie. Like, his best attempt at lying is in A New Hope. We're all good here. How are you? Like,
yeah.
Lando can pull it off, but it's not going to be Lando.
Lando's just naturally a bit more charming, even in tense situations. So, and he speaks out to Vader, so that shows he's got some cojones.
Yeah, and like, he looks good in a cape. He dresses well. Like, he would fit in. It's not Lando.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good point.
Still, it's not going to be.
Joel Davis with another super chat. Thank you so much. Is Mon Mothma the idealized revolutionary leader, considering the New Republic just led to the rise of the new fascism with the First Order?
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. The New Republic was far from perfect.
But they did allow. Was it the New Republic that allowed the remnants of the Empire to go off and do their own thing?
Kind of. Like, Mon Mothma basically did a lot to be like, let's shut down conflict. I brought up Victory's Price has a big plot line about this just database full of people that are, it's like anyone that ever pushed a pencil in the Empire and how they are complicit in some war crime. So basically, Syril, by taking that job, is a war criminal. And you saw the sea of cubicles. The idea was that any new government would be bogged down in criminal trials forever. And so Mon Mothma was like, blanket pardon. We're just not going to do that. And she demilitarized. And I do think that she made some mistakes as part of the New Republic. And I think the New Republic senators were not great because, some of them sided with the First Order. But I guess Andor is exploring the revolution itself and the idea of fighting this fight without losing your soul. And then a lot of the books and the comics are trying to deal with like the very nuanced stuff. And also remember that they're trying to write stories that bridge the gap between episode 6 and 7. And I like The Force Awakens, but doing the Empire all over again has its pros and cons. I think it's politically relevant, but I also just didn't like the whole Starkiller base thing and be like, well, the New Republic is gone. And here is why we were able to wipe them out in one fell swoop. So there's an element of that as well.
I kind of see it as like history repeats itself, and like Battlestar says this has all happened before and it will happen again. But yeah, it's a little on the nose in The Force Awakens how they explain the extermination of the New Republic and the rise of the First Order. But they kind of, I mean, they had to stick with it once they chose that route for the story to go. So I understand that.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to say that when I think it was DJ Daniel Jose Older, I almost called him by his Twitter name. He wrote Last Shot, which did a bunch of the I can't even talk anymore. Demilitarization stuff. And he's kind of building a bridge to what has to happen instead of trying to actually say something about Mon Mothma, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying that I think this show is presenting Mon Mothma as kind of the ideal leader that might not be realistic in our world, but something to strive for.
Yes, she's trying to change things on a a more humanitarian level. She's trying to protect lives.
Right.
And the next super chat continues with more Mon Mothma fun. Andrew Beardman, thanks for the super chat. Could the U.S. founding fathers be an inspiration for Mon, aristocrat and moneyed revolutionary leader that is seen as perfect but was actually conflicted? I mean, comparing, I mean, the founding fathers were messed up in their own ways.
Oh, but I think that's exactly what Andrew is saying, is that some people will look back at U.S. history and be like, but the founding fathers said, as if like that means something. It's like, no, they were still human beings. And like you said, like they were messed up. And it's kind of, we see Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi, and it's like, yes, we hold her up on this pedestal. And then Andor comes along and makes her very human. I think that's what Andrew's getting at.
Yeah, I can see that.
But
I can't get
totally agree.
I can't get it out of my head of just like knowing all the really super shady stuff. I won't even like go into what kind of shady stuff, but the shady stuff that the founding fathers did to get where they were. Mon Mothma's not that person. We don't have to go that deep into realism with Star Wars. Like
Mon Mothma, as far as we know, doesn't own slaves. But I kind of get what Andrew is getting at, is that there is an idealized kind of, we put them up on a pedestal version of the founding fathers. And it's like, well, they said 250 years ago that this is how it should be. And so now we got to stick to that. It's like, no, we can change things. It's okay.
I mean, that goes back to the Jedi as well. Like they stuck to their very strict rules, and over a long period of time, they managed to get more strict. And it's, you gotta get with the times.
Yeah, change is inevitable. That's the Clone Wars talks about that all the time. Accepting change. It's gonna happen.
Good stuff.
Mark White, thank you for the next super chat.
I don't know what W or T means.
Me neither. Something. Mon acting like a Democrat. Gary Whitta quoted his script from Rebels of Saw challenging Mon for playing.
Oh, with regard to.
Ah, okay. Great. Thank you, Amaranth. Gary Whitta quoted his script from Rebels of Saw challenging Mon for playing by the rules to criticize Joe Manchin via tweet on May 28, 2021.
Oh my.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we were talking about that earlier. Frank brought that up of, Democrats playing by the rules, and seeing the far right obviously doesn't care about shit like that. I'll get real. I'll talk about Herschel Walker in Georgia, and that buffoon talking about abortion is bad when he paid for 2, and Georgia voters being like,
at least
whatever,
2
that we know
of.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about the rules, but who cares? Like, there was that interview going around on Twitter of some lady where they were like, are you going to vote for Herschel Walker? And she was like, yes. Are you pro-life? And she's like, yes. What do you think about his 2 abortions? And she was like, we all make mistakes when we were kids. And they were like, he was 50. He was 50 years old. Like, when it comes down to it, some people just don't care.
No, they don't. It's all about labels and like wanting to look like they're doing the right thing when they're not. And God, I mean, after Trump, anyone in any political position probably thinks that they can just get away with anything.
Well, let me tell you, Molly, what we like about Palpatine is that he tells it like it is.
He says it. He says what he
He
wants
says
to
what
say.
he means. Anyway,
People in chat are loving.
I know.
So what's it called? Soapbox Alex.
It's just like being in Georgia and being a part of another mess like this, where
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, we're just
this
desperately
goddamn moron might win the election.
we're desperately trying to keep Georgia blue. Georgia turned blue, and no one thought that that was even possible. And now we have someone like Stacey Abrams who feels like a godsend. And it's like, yeah, we're fighting for life or death down here, guys.
It's just 6 years ago, I would have been like, Herschel Walker, really? Like, there's no way. But now I'm like, God, I'm so scared. We're less than a week away from election. I'm going to be so stressed.
Yeah, it's 2016 all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Take a breath.
Come on, Georgia. You can do it. You can do it.
If you're in
I forgot.
Georgia, you know what to do.
We voted last week. I meant to wear our stickers last week, and I left it in my hoodie somewhere. But
It's in my purse. Yes. All right. Moving on. I think we got our point across.
let's stop putting the politics in Star Wars and get back to this prison arc.
Pancho Esperanza, thank you so much for your super chat. The last 3 episodes of Andor, I expect it to be freaking amazing. I also like that we get the last episode on Thanksgiving week. Yay. Yeah, that'll be a nice little holiday.
Yeah.
A good start to that holiday break because it's on a Wednesday, and yeah, Thursday's Thanksgiving.
It will be. Like, I cannot wait for episode 10. It is something that has not, episode 9 built so much hype in me that I have not felt since probably watching like the Battle of the Bastards or something else from Game of Thrones. It was like every 2 seasons they would have a big battle, and the build up to it was just like, I can't wait.
It's like, did you make the connection to Helm's Deep, or what was it that you mentioned?
I said the Battle of Blackwater.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Of just like, we knew Stannis was coming to King's Landing, and then the episode itself like has this ramp up and then like just explosion of fight.
Mhm.
And like I can't wait to see these people stand up and get out.
Yeah.
I hope.
They've done such a good job with this show. Like, people complained that they felt the first couple episodes were boring, but like they've been setting this up so well to make the payoff that much better. You know, like this
Mhm.
prison arc has been kind of like slowly playing out. The Ferric stuff has been very slowly played out from the very beginning. And when we see the people of Ferrix stand up to fight, and Marva and B2 Emo and the Time Grappler get out on those streets and start beating some, you know what? Like,
I love Time Grapplers had what, 2 scenes in like it's been weeks, but
He's got
still
those
everyone
hammers.
is like, Time Grappler's coming back, right?
he's
Like-
got to use the hammers. But yeah,
Love it.
it's just stuff like this. Like, I hate seeing people say something is boring when it's like the first couple episodes and it's still like setting stuff up, because you come to the end and it's like, oh, it's like I've compared it before to like a 5-course meal. You got your starters, your
Mhm,
soup, your
mhm.
salad, your breadsticks, delicious, but not very substantial. And then you get your meal and then dessert, blah, blah, blah. So like, that's what this season has felt like. We're getting to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah. I fully agree. And I can understand people in the first few episodes. I think I would have been confused if we just got the first 2 episodes like they originally planned. I would have been like, okay. I don't think I would have gotten it yet. But then with episode 3, I was like, I get it. And the buildup was worth the payoff, which made the Aldani arc like, yeah, I'm willing to sit through that, which was the first episodes 4 and 5 were slower, and then 6 was amazing.
Mhm.
And now I'm just like not even remotely phased by it. I mean, I don't think 8 or 9 were slow at all. I was just like on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, if you watched our reactions, I was more like sunk into the couch, but
It's impossible for us to be on the edge of our couch seat because we've designed it to where you sink into it. But yeah.
I need to run to the restroom, and we still have a lot to go. So there's no way I'm going to make it. So I'll be right back.
Quickly, I will say hi, Pink Milk.
Oh, hey, Pink Milk.
They moved their streams to. Oh God, no! I hate being big on the screen.
All right, I'll leave it. I can just be empty for a second.
I don't like being full screen. Pink Milk moved their live streams to Wednesday nights at I believe 9 p.m. Eastern. So they're going on pretty soon. When we're done here, go check them out. It'll be a good time. Jane, yes, Alex did get a haircut. He really needed it. And we're in a wedding next week. So, oh my gosh, I have to scroll all the way back up. Where was I? Eric Bruno. Okay. Sorry, stand by. It looks great. Thank you. Yeah, we're both in a wedding next weekend, and I'm gonna be a groomsman. So excited. I get to wear a suit. I don't actually think suits are more comfortable than dresses though. Like the process of buying a suit has been very eye-opening to me. Like they're just uncomfortable. There's too many layers. You know, wear like I don't necessarily need an undershirt, but like a shirt, tuck it into your pants. There's so much shirt to tuck into pants. You gotta wear a belt. Awful. Sorry, this is what happens when Alex leaves me on screen alone. And I'm still scrolling all the way up to see if I can find out where we were. The tie too. I think the tie as well, because I think that's going to be like our groomsmen gifts. Here we go. I found it. I did it. Sweet Feet Pete, thanks for the super chat. No blankets is super common in live action Star Wars. Ezra and Zeb didn't have blankets either. It always super bothered me since day one. Yeah. And I get it because I think we talked about this in our live stream for Tales of the Jedi. It's just hard to animate things that move fluidly like a blanket would, or hair blowing in the wind or stuff like that. Like it's hard to animate that kind of stuff. So I get why they would just leave them out, but it is depressing. Welcome back.
I feel better.
We were talking about how sad it is that no one gets blankets in Star Wars.
Yoda has a blanket.
Oh, his blanket is Qui-Gon's robe.
cloak.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I made everyone sad.
And while you were gone, I was talking about being a groomsman.
I
and having
figured because
to
I saw
shop for a
this.
suit. No, Alex is a groomsman too.
If only.
But yeah, people need more blankets. We need to pick up the speed here because we still have a lot to go.
We have a lot to go, and we haven't eaten.
Haven't eaten dinner. Eric Bruno, where can I get an Imperial style suit? Speaking of suits, complete with the fancy tie. I want that fashion to come into vogue IRL. I'd wear that to the office. I mean, if you're anything like Syril, he gets all of his stuff tailored, it looks like. So
I mean, I do kind of like the tie that doesn't go around your neck, just kind of like straps into your shirt. I'm not
Yeah.
opposed to that side of the fashion in Star Wars.
Yeah. And also the little Star Wars version of a cardigan. I love.
I'm just into the fashion of
Oh,
Andor.
there's okay. Yeah. Thank you, Sweet Feet Pete, for putting this in the chat forever ago, and we just assumed that it wasn't there, but yes. Luke and Yoda had blankets in 5 and 6.
I'm trying to remember Luke's blanket. Oh yeah, when he's on the Falcon. Yeah, that makes sense.
We did Kevin's super chat. Jared, thanks so much for the next super chat. Really loved the tension between Kino and Andor. When Ulek died, I loved
think
watching
Ulaf.
Kino. Huh?
Ulaf.
Ulaf, yeah.
Yeah.
When Ulaf died, I loved watching Kino go through the emotions in real time. Yes, Andy Serkis is such a good actor. Star Wars does not deserve him.
He's coming for that Emmy. Give it to him. I loved him in this. And like I said earlier, if you told me that last week that I would be like fully team Kino at the end of this episode, I would have been like, like I was pretty anti Kino in my review for last week, but now, well done.
Yeah. Ugh, I'm so ready to see what they do in the next one. Ice, thanks so much for the super chat. Episode 9 was really great. Might be my favorite so far. There were a lot of really good moments, and I can't wait to see this arc conclude. Same. That's pretty much what our consensus has been this whole live stream. Like, we cannot wait to see what happens next.
Like, there was something about this episode that didn't grip me the way episode 8 did, which, like, I said that in my review, and I kind of wish I hadn't at this point, but because, like, it makes it sound like, oh, this was a dip in quality, which it wasn't. It was just like, I don't know, episode 8 shocked me so much. And this one was continuing to build off of that. But I don't know. I feel like ranking these episodes is just, it doesn't make sense to do because every episode that becomes my new favorite is only my favorite because of everything else that already happened. This series is just well written to be such a boil, I guess. The temperature rises and
Slow
everything
boil.
starts to explode. Yeah. Slow burn, slow boil, whatever.
Yeah, agreed. Francisco 501st, thanks so much for the super chat. Hello, guys. Just glad to hear you guys and the rest of the fans talk about the show of the year, Andor. Oh, show of the year. Okay.
Yeah, it might be.
I've seen a lot of people say that they think this is like the best show on TV right now, which for me is hard to say definitively about like just any Star Wars show because we watch a lot of shows and I just love so many different types of shows. So, but it's up there.
I mean, just comparing it to what immediately surrounded it, Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, She-Hulk, whatever, like this easily beats it. For me, it shouldn't be a surprise. Being Star Wars gives it a leg up in my eyes. Like I just love to be there in that universe. So I'm obsessed with this show. It's probably my favorite of the year.
And Rue, thanks for the super chat. Syril needs to share his Wookiee charms. Oh, like
the cereal.
Oh, I gotcha.
We both got confused and then we figured it out.
We figured it. We got there. You had to read it out loud to really understand what it was. But yes, thank you, Rue. Ice with another one here. Mon and Vel being cousins was such an unexpected development. They hinted at her rich backstory, but seeing their interactions made me go, what?
Okay, I think they know how to play Star Wars fans. I think they thought people would think Vel was Luthen's daughter, and
The-
they're like, nope.
They put that shot in the last episode of Vel leaving Ferrix, and they had her sitting in the same like seat, same position on that like space bus as Luthen did when he went to Ferrix, and I was like, oh, for sure, that means something. But then we were talking about this earlier, Alex, about Vel's hair, and some people were like, Vel kind of has similar hair braids as Lita. And then I remembered there was a StarWars.com databank entry about Lita actually kind of liking some of the Chandrillan traditions, and that was what her hairstyle was. And I was like, oh, it all connects.
Yeah. I just think that they know, despite Tony Gilroy not like being super inundated with Star Wars, I think he knows how to mess with us. Now, like my video tomorrow, spoilers for the people who are here, is about how I don't think we're ever going to find out what they're building. And I think that's the point. Like, I think that they put this thing in there, and I think they knew Star Wars fans would be like, what is it? I have to know. I can figure this out. And
What's in the box?
we're never going to figure it out. We never will. But now we feel just as frustrated we feel frustration like the prisoners do. We don't live under threat of electrocution, so we're not just as frustrated as they are, but like we're in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what they want to, the kind of headspace they want us in.
Yeah. Like Charlie the Unicorn in the chat said, they're just cogs in the wheel. That's the point.
Yep, exactly.
I
I was going to just real quick be like, we're not current on The Boys, but For All Mankind, amazing, excellent, love it, go watch it.
This is kind of continuing on the relationship with Vel and Mon conversation. Thanks, Ben Verbic, for the next super chat. Your take on Vel in this episode, relationship to Mon, new theories on Luthen, etc. I was shocked. Sorry if I missed it. Had to step away. You guys rock. Thank you. Yeah,
Also shocked.
We were shocked. As far as new theories on Luthen, he is still such a mystery to me, and like he felt like such a kind of a good guy character when he originally like came along to recruit Cassian for the cause, blah blah blah. But we've slowly been seeing him do like more shady things and not care about what happens to people. Like when Mon Mothma came, and what was that for?
So
That look.
Amaranth in the chat suggested, I have to pull up this, but that someone might be moving everything they build down to a different floor so they disassemble it. I don't think they would do that. I think the Empire actually does want them to be productive and build stuff for them. But like that idea just made my eyes explode.
Yeah, that would be awful. But yeah, just finishing my random thoughts on Luthen, and then we see him talk to Saw, and we see how their relationship is very strange. Like they're kind of keeping a lot of stuff from each other and taking stabs at each other. So Luthen is not a good person. He might still have it in him to do good things for the rest of the season, but I don't know what his deal is.
That's I get the sense that he is like the necessary evil of sorts, and I think they're raising the question of like, does someone like this need to exist for a revolution to happen? Do you need the figurehead like Mon Mothma to be like this is what is good and what is right? But behind the scenes, here's the person who is like not that far off from what the Empire would do, making some moves. So yeah, I don't have any new theories on Luthen other than that he's probably not Vel's father. He is just some dude.
Just some bloke.
He's just some bloke.
I'm going to bring up this next one, and then it's my turn to go.
Okay,
take
I
my
got it.
little
I
break.
got this.
So, I'll be back.
Dan V, hey, thank you for the super chat. Brought up your For All Mankind is amazing. Andor is the closest thing tonally for me to the Star Wars Legacy comics with how adult it is. Yeah, I can see that. The show is just great. The Empire is so threatening in this show. Agreed. Yeah, the Legacy comics definitely felt like they were starting to push some boundaries. I really like the way Andor is more mature without being graphic about it. We kind of talked about the torture earlier, where it's like it's still horrifying because of the way they describe it and what it is. But there's nothing graphic about it. There's no blood. They can show it on TV without having to worry about the violence of it all. But they still do a great job of making it just terrible. So I agree that it is an adult story without being graphic or terrible about it. And now I'm trying to scroll up so I can get to the next super chat that I'm looking for from Darth Watts. I can go ahead and read it. How do you think Andor is going to escape in the next episode? There we go. Thank you, Darth Watts. I mean, I think they started to spell out their plan. They're gonna try to stop the elevator so it's like halfway down so they can Donkey Kong their way out, or Super Mario Bros, whatever your fandom is. We saw Cassian filing away at that pipe, so that has to be involved. Maybe that's the hydraulics for the elevator. Maybe if he gets through that pipe, then it'll shut the elevator down. There's also the electric floors to worry about. Like maybe if it's a pipe and if it's plumbing, then like maybe he's gonna spread some water out. I don't know if that would make things worse or better. if he clogged the toilet and made it overflow and there was water all over the floor, like would that make things worse? I don't know. So I think the crux of it is stop the elevator and swarm it. Like there were only 2 guards that came out with the new prisoner. They can do that. There's 50 people in that room. It'll be hard, but they can do it. Thank you. Oh, Molly brought me a candy. Nicolads, I think everyone will realize how much they outnumber the guards. I agree. If there are 12 per floor and 7 rooms of 49, yeah, they're way outnumbered. I agree.
I'm back. I was cold, so I got this. I was hungry, so I got candy. And I was still thirsty, so I got more of my drink. I'm ready to go.
I think your microphone is adjusting to the levels of the silence. When you came back, you were very loud.
Oh, whoops.
You're better now.
I might just be out of breath.
Stop yelling.
Coming up from the stairs.
David Livingston has the next one. Thank you, David. I'm with Molly. He was super predatory and creepy, talking about Syril, I assume. Gave off massive red flags of how to not talk to a woman for the first time. Well, it was the second time, to be fair.
Yeah, it wasn't the first time, but yeah, I know. He does think, I think, because we talked about earlier his relationship with his mother. I do think that he thinks that their interactions are helpful for the both of them, and like they're both trying to get to the same place. But yeah, he's going about it so wrong.
That's Neil Adamson. If you're still here, very good observation about the transactional value of relationships in Syril.
Yes. I don't know if this is Cian or Cyan, or something else. Cian O'Doherty. I'm sorry if I messed up your name. It's late. What is Vader's military rank, and does it change throughout the original trilogy? Is he ISB or Army or Navy at all? He is Lord Vader.
Yep. He is nothing. He is outside of the Imperial structure. Like, as far as the military is concerned, people will answer to him if they have to, but he does not hold a rank. Even in The Empire Strikes Back, he didn't hold a rank, but he had some authority. He was in charge of the Imperial fleet by that time. But George Lucas actually has like specific words on Darth Vader and where he fits in the hierarchy in the Making of Star Wars book, which all of the making of books by John Rinsler are fantastic. But I've gone back to those just like words, those interviews that Lucas has done, and like it was late 1977, and so many of his ideas back then stayed relevant up to today. I did a video a few weeks ago about how the Imperial Senate is like, yep, that's what George Lucas said in 1977. Still works.
Still got it.
Still got it.
A couple people brought up the 501st. Is he in charge of the 501st at that point?
That's like his group. What am I looking for? Legion. That's his legion that he is in charge of. But he is still largely. I was actually trying to pull up the specific. I even have it here.
Vader's fist.
Vader's fist is the 501st.
Mm-hmm.
I like have it bookmarked because I pull it up so much. So a lot of words. Darth Vader is really, this is George Lucas talking. Darth Vader is attached to the Emperor himself, and he was not really a part of the Death Star personnel or any of that system. Lord Vader worked directly for the Emperor and was the Emperor's emissary. That's basically all he said.
He's like the vice president who
Not
doesn't
even
really
that.
do much at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the answer. Like, rank Darth, Sith Lord. Like, we see that on the Death Star, people don't really respect him until he breaks out his little choky fingers. They, I'm gonna get you.
Is that how he does it?
Yeah, boop, 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 boop. Choking you. But that's how it is. Like, he works for the Emperor. Vader is a Sith more so than he is an Imperial, and then he gets in.
Right.
He gets to be in charge of the Executor, and he does command Imperial forces. Like, people will answer to him, but also he will answer to Grand Moff Tarkin if that's what the Emperor wants him to do.
Mm-hmm. Great. Love it. Love that for him. Crimson Fell, thank you so much for the next super chat. Some fans say Andor doesn't feel like Star Wars, that Tony Gilroy's writing has more in common with Blade Runner than all the other Star Wars content. In my opinion, that's a good thing, but what do you think? Well, talking about George Lucas, he completely ripped off a bunch of stuff. Flash Gordon is the big one.
Flash Gordon,
So, like,
Dune. I mean, like, yeah.
Original trilogy fans growing up with that first movie are probably like, well, wait a second. He ripped off this person.
I would say that I don't think I've ever felt that his writing hasn't felt Star Wars to me. It has felt more real at times. So, like, I guess maybe people are feeling like it's leaning more sci-fi than sci-fi fantasy or something like that. But I don't know. When the prequels came out, people said, this doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. And like George Lucas talked about how he wanted to write them differently. he wrote Anakin differently than he wrote anyone in the originals. So I don't know. It might not feel like Star Wars to some people now, but now it's Star Wars. Like
I mean,
that's the cycle.
yeah. And George would have done it again had he been able to do his version of the sequel trilogy, because he's talked a little bit about what it would have been like, and it was going to be real weird.
It was going to be wild. He was like, I want to get microscopic into the wills and the metachlorians and stuff, which I'm like, go for it at this point. But it would have been weird, and people probably would have been like, it doesn't feel like Star Wars, and they would have said that to George Lucas. So yeah, like, to me, I think that the more you especially read Star Wars, because Star Wars books are wildly different. Like, there have been so many of them that I've gotten used to several different types of tones. So Andor coming along, I'm like, yeah, this is just a more realistic take on Star Wars. I got that with stories like Darth Plagueis or the X-Wing books. So I'm used to the idea that Star Wars can be realistic. And I've also read very wild Star Wars stuff like Dr. Aphra, which is just like borderline, how do these all fit in the same universe? But Aphra is so pulpy and fun, like, I don't care. So that's how I see it. It's just a different take.
Yeah. I agree with Geography Geek in the chat. I think George would appreciate the creativity of Andor. I think George would appreciate a lot about Andor. Or at least I would hope to think that.
Oh, I think George would appreciate a lot about the prison arc, especially. Like, it's THX.
Oh, yeah.
They're expanding on THX 1138. Like, watch THX 1138. It is so weird. Like, it's weird.
That was George's whole thing. He wanted
George
to do
loved weird stuff.
Weird and new things and like change the industry, which he did multiple times. But anyways. Cassia Pidgip, thanks for the next super chat. Could Melshi have known that everyone was recycled in prison? Maybe that's why he said not to look at how much time there's left on the sentence.
That's a good point. Like, Melshi is the one that's been like, they're going to keep you as long as they want to keep you. And it's either he knows something they don't, or he just doesn't have hope. And like, he sees the truth.
Maybe this is like his second time in. Maybe he's been recycled.
Maybe.
And he's like, there's no getting out of this. But it's also kind of like how when you're having trouble sleeping at night, they say not to look at the clock, because then you just obsess about the number. Right. And you're like, oh my God, it's later. Oh my God, I have to get up at this time. Oh my God. So it could just be psychologically like, don't look at the number. It doesn't matter. He means like, don't look at the number. It'll drive you crazy.
Yeah. I think it's a little like, I guess I don't think he's been recycled yet, but it's possible, especially if they do like the brain wiping thing we speculated on earlier. But yeah, I guess I just got the sense that he was like, don't look at the number. Like you say, there's no point. The number is meaningless. I think he just has no hope, which is kind of nice. Like, it's a little arc for Melshi to be that way when Cassian meets him, and then to be one of the people that is like, we're going to take the next chance and the next and the next, and we're going to steal the Death Star plans.
Which is what Jen says.
Yeah, exactly. So, and for Melshi to be on that mission that is all about hope, it's good for us to see that change for him.
It's like poetry.
It's like these movies rhyme. It's weird. Joel Davis, thank you for the next super chat. Part of me wants a post-6 Andor-like show in terms of maturity that goes into that maybe reforming the Republic was not a good idea in the long term. If this does well, I think they will do more shows like it.
I hope so.
I don't think it's going to be like the norm for Star Wars, but I think it will just be another avenue they feel comfortable traveling down of like, hey, we want to tell this story and we think this is the kind of format to use.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we got stories like Shadow of the Sith and Princess and the Scoundrel, and those were such good stories, and they were all post 6. Princess and the Scoundrel was like immediately post 6 content, and like I and like a lot of other fans just ate that stuff up because it's new enough to feel like something that isn't being reused, but it's the characters that we've known for so long. So I would love that. I just don't know which route they would go with it if it were going to be post 6. Like, would it be the main characters? Would it be Luke, Leia, Han, blah, blah, blah?
I mean, if they just wait 5 or 6 years to just keep Genevieve O'Reilly, keep on doing Mon Mothma, like, I think it would be really interesting to explore that. The New Republic is still something that we don't know a ton about. Like, we're learning a little more about it in The Mandalorian and those shows, but I think that there's more to be explored there.
For sure. Darth Watts, thanks for the super chat. I'm curious to see what happens next. I think we all are.
Me too.
That's a very good observation. But yeah, especially after how that episode ended. My God, what a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Amaranth Payne has the next super chat. Thank you for the very thematic super chat as well. Thanks for all you do on the behalf of the fandom. You're both super awesome. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You're super awesome.
You are.
No, you. You are, Anne.
You are too.
Sorry, I'll devolve into Parks and Rec before
Quotes,
too long
yeah.
here.
Justin Carter with another super chat. Thank you, Justin. Show idea: a young Jedi survivor of Order 66 that turned to the dark side fully, but did not serve Palpatine and instead joined the rebels and saved lives. That's kind of a mixture of like Fallen Order a little bit,
Cal doesn't go to the dark side.
but
Don't you
someone
say that about
does.
Cal.
The sister does. What's it?
That's
the,
true.
Which
Second
number
sister.
sister? The second sister does.
Yeah.
And Reva. That was kind of her story.
That's true. We might get more from Reva. Someone that, like, yeah, she turned to the dark side, served Palpatine for a minute, but then could go and join the path and try to, yeah. I mean, that could happen.
Yeah. People in chat are saying it's very Force Unleashed, which I haven't played, but love it.
Which I don't think they're going to do Starkiller stuff, but Reva, I think, could happen.
That would be interesting.
Emmy, thank you for the next super chat. Andor is the most British Star Wars has been since the OT. Maybe that's why everyone is saying it's good. Also, I left a 10-pound comment last Andor butts. Oh, thank you, Emmy.
Thank you.
And thank you for this week as well. I mean, look, Star Wars is going back to its British roots. That's where A New Hope was filmed.
And
I'm just saying.
I mean, it does have a lot of great actors from other British things that we love, like Harry Potter and
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, maybe? Are there
Probably.
any? Mostly Game of Thrones and Harry Potter people that we've noticed.
Like there's 2 Game of Thrones people that I can think of. There's 3 Harry Potter people.
The med tech in today's episode played Harry's dad, apparently.
Yeah. I know Rain Man's been on the lookout for another Harry Potter actor. I believe that's our 3rd.
Mm. Lord Hosk, thanks for the next super chat. Are we keeping you from something? Turtles, maybe? Oh, if there were turtles in our house,
We'd
I
be
wouldn't
gone. Yeah. We'd be going to watch the turtles.
I would be playing with it here on stream.
We're gonna eat at some point. Sometime today we will have dinner.
Oh, yeah. Dan V900 said Andy Serkis.
Oh yeah, who was in Lord of the Rings? I feel like there was someone.
I wasn't thinking of him because he's already been in Star Wars, but yeah. That makes sense. Garth McMurray, thanks so much for the super chat. I think Baby Shark was playing in the headphones. Oh.
Which does exist in Star
Baby
Wars.
Shark, do, 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 do. Wait.
Baby Shark exists in Star Wars, or something similar to it. E.K.
What?
Johnston wrote it into Queen's Hope.
Oh.
It was she wrote some line about hearing someone singing a song about like an aquatic fish or so. It was Baby Shark. The way she wrote it, it was like, that's the Star Wars version of Baby Shark. Okay.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love that. Also, wishing you a swift recovery, Garth. I saw on Twitter that you were in the hospital. So hope you're feeling better.
Hope you're all right.
Joel Davis with the next super chat. I think it's ironic that the revolution against the Empire just ends up with a lot of the old elites back in power. Mothma is still upper class.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's just a good criticism, I think. I don't know. I like
Yeah, I mean, you could hand wave that away and just say they didn't realize how big this universe was going to get. And they used a lot of the same characters.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a problem of the real world too. You know, the people in power stay in power. The rich and wealthy are more likely to be in power. That's something else that is explored in Battlestar Galactica when Baltar's in jail and he's like, do you think there's really a chance ever that someone without the last name Adama is going to be in charge of this fleet? Like, that fair point, Gaius, as you're in prison.
Yeah, because these dynasties get built, right? And then it's like a whole, there's a word for it that I can't remember, but it's nepotism. Is that it?
Sure.
Where it's like the family comes first and the family name is all that matters now.
Well,
so then it's kind of
partially brand recognition in a way. I will point out, we don't know what her financial position is at the end of the rebellion, but I think she's probably fine. Like,
oh my God. I just had a galaxy brain moment.
Oh,
that's why we see her wearing just a white sheet.
That's all she has left.
She had those amazing outfits. We see her in such cool outfits, and then we see her in Return of the Jedi wearing a sheet.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, if she could use all of her wealth to fund the rebellion, save the galaxy, etc., I still think that there's like that whole, oh, I started this company in my garage with $1 million loan from my parents. Like, there's still a conversation to be had. Still, whatever. Like, Mon Mothma is a good person, and I think we are to believe that in this series.
Yeah.
So I lost it. Bakey, thank you for the next super chat. I want the next episode to be titled Never More Than 12. Maybe.
That would be fitting for how the last one ended, yeah.
I want it to be titled Kino Kick Some Ass.
I want it to be titled You F Around, You Find Out. Those little stabby, zappy sticks. You about to find out.
Zap around and find out.
Yeah. Eric Bruno, thank you so much for the very generous super chat. I appreciate when businesses and personalities actually take a political stance, parentheses, on the right side of history, in my opinion. Thank you for not trying to play both sides and remain neutral for any audience. Thank
sometimes
you.
it's just yeah.
Sometimes it comes out of us, so we try not to get too wrapped up in, real world stuff, because part of this is about escapism and celebrating Star Wars, but
Yeah, it's a balance between both where like yeah, Star Wars is escapism to a degree, but Star Wars is also and has always been George Lucas said he wanted to like pass on lessons to the next generation and what he felt was important. And what he felt was important were fairly liberal philosophies. And then when we're in the midst of midterm elections and we're like really seeing stuff
yeah.
happening in our own neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
oh
It's a
boy.
lot. We're getting to the super chats when we
back when we were on our rant.
on a little bit of a rant, but there was something else I was going to say. Oh, the cool thing about Star Wars, and especially what Tony Gilroy is doing, is he is showing us how this fascist regime has slowly like expanded, and how exactly they're slowly taking over, and they're showing it from multiple sides, where we see all the rich people in Mon Mothma's apartment being like, well, I'm afraid, and we have to do this, and blah, blah, blah. And like Palpatine says what he means. And then we see the nitty gritty people at the bottom, how much they're suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to take something like Star Wars, I think, and pour some real world ideas into it, so that people, it's just another way for people to learn about history and what can happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that George Lucas always wanted to say, that he was like, democracies are not taken, they are given away. And that was basically what, I mean, he wrote Star Wars as a condemnation of the American Empire, the Vietnam War, and Richard Nixon. And then, unfortunately, 20 years later, when he was doing the prequels, he was like, well, this is still relevant. And the story remained the same. So yeah, like it's important to keep learning these things because they stay relevant.
And yeah, like I said earlier, history repeats itself, so it is important to continue these lessons.
And you talking about watching the senators say this, like, oh well, I'm just so scared, and then going down to where the prisoners are. It's what Force Center was talking about, like upstairs downstairs storytelling, which is also an improv thing of just like characters and status. But it is like we're getting the personal story with Cassian, and we're getting more of the galactic story with Mothma, and she is the upstairs, and we're seeing all the high status characters just being like, oh well, I am just so afraid. And that's what the Empire does, and that's what the right wing does too, is like they fearmonger. Everything is like, you should be afraid of these people, they're coming to do this thing to you, when really all they want to do is be themselves.
The Ticker Gerbs.
Yeah. Oh,
to bring back a very old South Park reference.
Yeah. Oh, the midterm elections are coming up. There's another convoy of immigrants coming up, and you should be scared. Like, it's the same thing over and over. Anyway, if anyone's trying to control you through fear, remember that fear is the dark side.
Fear, anger, aggression, all that stuff. Yeah. This is relevant. Well, even though it was
worked out
a while ago. Thank you, Patrick Dubé, for this super chat. Preach, Alex.
I try not to be preachy, but I guess sometimes it happens.
You don't sound preachy. It just sounds like sometimes you need to get some stuff off your chest, and that's okay.
Thanks.
Ice has the next super chat. Thank you, Ice. Mon's family drama is also really interesting. Lita being very suspicious of her mother, and Tay Kolma feels like a dam waiting to blow. Her snide comments were entertaining to watch, though.
Yeah, I still don't know what to think exactly about Lita. Like I understand her a little bit more. She's 13 or so. Like she's in her teenager years. So I get it. You're gonna be kind of crappy. Perrin has no excuse. Lita, I'm like, there's hope for you.
Yeah.
We've all been through that phase.
We've all been there. Although we've brought this up before. I don't think you had much of a rebellious phase.
No, I didn't really.
But yeah,
Okay,
it is.
Most people have been there.
It is very interesting to see who would have thought us as Star Wars fans in 2022 would be getting to see Mon Mothma's home life. And like you said earlier, your parents know what Chandrilla is, and
Yeah.
that's crazy to think about.
It's so weird. But like to have conversations with them and my mom is casually saying planet names that I'm like, you know what Chandrilla is? That's so weird to me.
It's a lot of fun.
Intoxicated Gamer, thanks for the next super chat. As a small content creator, I fully get how difficult it is to not alienate your audience by being too vocal about your views and the fine line you walk. Love your guys' bravery when it counts. Thanks. I'll just tell you, like, it doesn't matter what size you are. Do you want to be buddying up, profiting off of people who are just on the opposite side? That's it. Like
It is a hard thing that a lot of creators have to struggle with early on and then stick with going forward. Just deciding to, yeah, you could make content that would do better than well, that would entice probably the wrong crowd, if that makes sense. And you could choose not to do that. Maybe your videos won't do as well, but like it's whatever level of integrity you want to choose, you know?
Wait, like even I think a lot of times it happens not as like a conscious decision of like I'm going to appease to both sides, but sometimes you'll say things and people will get really mad to find out that like you don't agree with them on something, and it's like, well, too bad. Like you shouldn't hide the way you feel about something for that sake. Like it's just important to build a community that you want. And like I am we were talking about this last week. I am so grateful for our community. As like the people in our live streams are great. Talking about everything that was happening with Tales of the Jedi, and especially that Ahsoka short. Like we actually had people in the comments, like having a conversation. No one was attacking one another that I can recall. If they were banned. But like it just wasn't a rough thing. And that's because like you should be conscious about the community that you create.
Right. And like we've had 500 plus people watching for 3 hours and 12 minutes.
My God.
And the chat's been amazing the whole time. Like no one's been super rude. Like there's been really great points being made in the chat, and like you guys are awesome. So this is why we forego our dinner. We say no to that. We eat our Reese's. We keep going.
Molly spoiled my appetite.
We'll cook our home chef. You know, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Andrew Beardman, thank you for the next super chat. Fear not, Molly. I'm not a found F devotee, but people / George Lucas in the 70s, early 80s didn't probably have the understanding of them we do now. So Mon inspo.
I think founding
fathers.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
I was
We've
over here
gone
going
so-
Star Wars with it. Like he means found family.
This was 45 minutes ago, so I'm trying
Oh,
to like
no.
remember our conversation.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
You're all good, Andrew. I gotcha.
Ice, thank you for another super chat. Some thoughts on Bix's situation. I feel like the torture and scene were a little too dark for Star Wars, although they were extremely effective. Yeah, like it was definitely bordering on stuff, but the fact that they found a way to have a terrible, horrifying torture scene without it being graphically violent, I thought was very impressive.
Yeah, it's interesting that Star Wars finds these creative ways to show terrible situations without it being just gory and gruesome. But like you said earlier, the audience didn't hear what Bix heard in that torture headset, but her acting got the point across.
Mhm.
And the straight up explanation of what she was going to hear from the creepy doctor got the point across.
Yeah. Terrible.
Dark, but I think that's kind of the point of
Yeah.
this show, to show the more extremes, the darks and the, I don't know, the lavish side of things. Like on Mon Mothma's side, you see these rich people who couldn't care less.
The torture that was described, like thinking about it, I think I would rather go with the Han Solo route on Cloud City. Whatever that table was, like, I don't know, zap me a couple times. That didn't seem as bad as what Bix went through.
Mm-hmm. The zappy table that we got
Yeah.
to see again in
It's popped up a few times, yeah.
the Obi-Wan show. Wasn't it there for Leia?
Like kind of that chair thing. I think that was more in Rebels, but it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. A little light torture, you know.
Compared to Dr. Gorst. This was a Dr. Gorst interview? Oh, God. I hate that he has a reputation.
I kind of love it though, because they're just really drilling in the points.
Pun intended. Timmy Weirville, thank you for the next super chat. What if Syril, after joining the Empire, obviously messing up catching Cassian, he is demoted and gets stationed on Scarif? Seems fitting. Well, I think that is kind of a funny idea, but Scarif was supposed to be like a cushy job. So I
like
really
Aldani. Well, I don't know that Aldani was cushy, but like the people there were just bored.
Yeah. I mean, I've bought into what Templin Institute has said. I really like the idea that, yeah, he gets to be part of the Empire. He gets what he wants, but it has to end with him realizing he's nothing to them.
Yeah.
That wherever he winds up, like, he should die, and it should be because the Empire doesn't value him the way he thinks it does. That's how Mark said that, and I was like, yep, I like that.
Mm-hmm. We talked about earlier that maybe Syril ends up on the Death Star, and we know what happens to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do want to see how his story ends, but I guess that would be a fitting enough thing to be like, and you're going to be stationed on our new blah, blah, blah space station.
Yeah. Ice, thank you for another super chat. Kino put me through the motions. 1 minute I was against him, the next he had me pumping my fist. I agree. Andy Serkis is crushing it here. I said it earlier. We don't deserve Andy Serkis. He's so good in everything he does, whether it's him with no makeup on, just playing a flat out playing a role, or him in Planet of the Apes, him as Gollum, him as Snoke. Like, the man has range. And we love it.
Is he going to be in Indiana Jones 5? Can we get him in that? And then he'd just be in like my top 3 fandoms.
Maybe he's in Willow too.
We can only hope.
Lucasfilm was like, yeah, go nuts. Go ahead.
Yeah, you do whatever you want to do. You can do anything, Andy.
What if he's at Celebration? I want to
Could
meet
be.
him.
I'd love to meet him.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
God,
I'm
I bet
having
he's
this
the best.
I'm having similar feelings when I found out that Sarah Michelle Gellar was going to be at Orlando Celebration. I was like, I have to take my chance now.
Yep, shoot your shot.
Yeah. Darth Watts, thanks for the next super chat. I can't wait to see episode 10. Now I'm anxious. Yeah, none of us are going to sleep for a week.
Yeah, everyone enjoy your 7 days of no sleep. We'll see you back here in 24 times 7 hours.
Every morning, I'm going to
148 hours?
Every morning, I'm going to sit up and
88?
say, never more than 12.
Yeah.
That's going to be my thought every morning.
Ian Nofield, thank you for the next super chat. Donation for after show supper.
Oh,
Maybe someday. We'll
Maybe-
have dinner eventually.
Oh, I thought you meant like we'll treat ourselves to supper. I guess we'll have to tomorrow night because we're on our last Home Chef meal tonight.
Oh no.
Oh no!
What are we gonna do?
Have to order takeout. Oh no!
Ice, thank you for another super chat. I need to
Go
say
ahead.
how much I appreciate the balanced takes you both had on people using Andor to put down the past shows. That definitely is happening, and I hate it. I'm glad not everyone is like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it doesn't really bug me that much. I get it. It's, people always ask us to rank the movies or where does this fall in your ranking of the shows? And it's like, everyone is going to prefer some show or story over the other, but as long as you're not being aggressive and mean about it. And even if I see some hyperbole on Twitter, I'm just like, all right, they like Andor. That's fine. Like, it's Andor has a different kind of value to me than The Mandalorian does. And just the same, I said this before, but just the same way that Andor episodes ebb and flow. And it's like, okay, we got a couple slow ones and it's going to ramp up, and holy cow, like we're going to have an ebb and flow to the Star Wars series that are coming out. It's like, okay, this one is animated and this one is really pulpy and this one is very serious and this one is the young Jedi adventures and it's going to be really goofy. Like, I like having the variety.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't want to like use our age as a reason to be like, we have some wisdom, because that sounds silly, but like,
We're so old.
I do feel like the more life experiences you go through, the less reactive you're going to be to Twitter arguments. Does that make sense? And like, I don't know, we've been doing this for a while. We've been on the internet for a while. And you just learn over time that, like, what is it? Qui-Gon says, your focus determines your reality. If you are constantly focusing on arguing with people on the internet, you're going to be in a bad place mentally all day, every day. Like, if you wake up and you're like, who am I going to argue with today? Who am I going to start shit with today? And it's like, no, you can't live like that. You'll be miserable.
Yeah. Which is like kind of what Twitter and YouTube and all social media is set up to do. It wants your engagement. And hey, guess what
And
Star
YouTube.
Wars says? I said YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like all social media. But yeah, they want you engaged, which means they want your emotion. And guess what emotions Star Wars says are the easiest to pull out of you? It's fear and anger and aggression. So yeah, that's what they push in front of you. They want to start arguments with their algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you just got to let that shit go. You see someone say like, oh, Andor is way better than blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, is that worth fighting over? Like, all they really mean is they like Andor. Yeah.
I have it in my office for a reason. Yeah.
But,
Someone in
yeah.
chat said, Hero Dares Fire said, the older you get, the less time you have for nonsense. Yeah.
I've laughed every time we've seen episode 7 and Marva's like, I'm too old and I don't care anymore. And I'm like, I'm not that old, but I feel that. Of just,
I feel it in my soul. That is my mantra now. I'm an old woman. I don't care. Meh.
we're 35. That's how, 35 years old. But
Get off my lawn. Old man yells at cloud. Yeah, it's all that. It's all that.
Molly told me when some trick-or-treaters came by, she was like, they were too old to be trick-or-treating and they weren't wearing enough. And I was like, okay, so that's where we are at.
It was
our
like
point.
two older teenage girls. They looked like they were about 15, 16, not in costume. They looked like they could be going to a Halloween party, but like an adult Halloween party where it's like fine to just dress sexy and call it a costume. And I was like, I don't feel good giving you candy. I don't know.
That's where we're at. We're telling teenagers like, you're too old to trick or treat now.
But look, no shame. I gave them candy and I was like, y'all are killing it. That's a choice. Sorry.
Well, it's okay. I brought it up.
Babbles the Clown, thanks so much for the super chat. Coming in super late because of work and jumping out again, but I had to say hi and mention how moved I was by the torture method. It made me physically sick. Sorry. I'm losing it. Thank you for popping in. Thank you for the super chat.
And we agree.
the torture method, a lot of the dark stuff in this episode just made you feel a little creeped out, a little ill. But yeah.
I like the way you put that though. Like the dark side stuff, which was not the Force.
Yeah.
It was just, but it's still the dark side.
Not the dark side in the conventional sense.
Right, but it is.
But it is.
But I like that. Rain Man has the next super chat. Daniel S. brought up in Discord that Syril is basically Gabe from The Office, and now I can't unsee it. Who else do we have from The Office here? I still kind of, I can see Gabe, but I still like what Molly said, that if you gave Dwight Schrute a gun, that's Syril Karn. Oh,
that reminds me. Someone on Twitter tweeted a picture of Dwight and what's her name? The short blonde one.
Angela?
Dwight and Angela, and they were like, this is Syril and Dedra.
Oh, no.
And I was like, like if they actually got together, it would give you that weird feeling that you got in your heart when Dwight and her got together. You were like, wait a second, is this right? I don't know how to feel about this.
Yeah.
But then you learn to accept it on The Office. I don't know.
I don't remember Gabe as much because I've seen all of The Office, but I saw the earlier seasons a lot more. Like I know who he is. He's the guy from what's his name? Because I really like the actor. Yeah.
Is that him? Yeah.
I really like the actor, and he's a very funny improviser. Syril does seem like the kind of guy that would take karate classes online, which is a joke that Gabe makes. Or
he's got a certificate in his private box of his karate, virtual karate belt.
Like that was one of my favorite Office bloopers, is him just delivering that improv line and everyone losing it because it's so ridiculous. But I don't remember much about the character. I know who he is, but I the Dwight thing, and especially now that Syril works in that big cubicle office thing, I just see him as Dwight.
Yeah.
He seems like the kind of guy that to have a bowcaster hidden somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And I want to be clear for Charlie the Unicorn in chat. We're not necessarily shipping Syril and Dedra. It's a fun joke to make, but we talked about it earlier. Like Syril's actions are very predatory and scary, and he is definitely stalking her in a very weird way. So
I'm not rooting for them to get together. Syril as a character, like I get it why he's going that way. I don't approve of it. Like I'm glad I uploaded this because here's how we feel about Syril. Here, that's exactly how we feel about Syril. It's
That was from our-
disapproval.
that was from our reaction. And if you want to see our reactions, you can check out our Patreon. Ding.
Like I just slowly
Plug.
kind of do like, no,
Yeah.
Syril, no.
Gio Flores, thanks for another super chat. The hype is so real for the rest of the show. I can't wait till next week, and you guys are amazing. Thank you, Gio.
Thanks, Gio.
Loving having Gio in all the chats as of late. We're getting
Darth,
close.
Yeah, we can do this. We can have dinner tonight. Darth Nicholas, thank you for the next super chat. I don't know if this question has been addressed, but is there a good chance there were any non-human prisoners on Narkina 5, or was it exclusively reserved for human prisoners?
We
So
did talk
We
about
talked
this
about this at some point.
on the Q&A.
Okay. The idea that maybe... So we saw 7 prisons on the planet. I think that in the tower itself that Cassian is in, looking out at all the other bridges, I think we've only seen humans. So maybe the other towers, maybe there are different species in each tower, or maybe like Narkina 5 is just like, this is where we send humans because they can do X job. If we arrest a Wookiee, they're going to Kessel. If we arrest a Trandoshan, they're going, like, they might just... I
brought it up in the Q&A. If you saw it, those are posted on our channel every Saturday morning. And this came up on there, and I was like, if they had a species in one of those groups with 4 arms, that makes it completely unfair for like all the teams on the floors to like get the same job done in the same time. If you had someone like Rio with all the arms, he'd be doing the whole thing himself, and like they would always win. So that's a very like...
And if there's one thing the Empire cares about, it's being fair.
Yeah.
So they're not going to put Rio or a Basilisk into a prison where this is two armed species only in here.
Yeah. I don't think that's anywhere near something that they thought of while deciding on this particular arc, but maybe. And it's a very easy headcanon way to explain why there are no other species there.
I mean, what it really comes down to is I think they are handling very serious issues. And I think Tony Gilroy just thought this isn't the place to be super pulpy. Like, he's not fully against the weird in Star Wars. We got Dr. Quadpaw. We got Dr. Quadpaw. So we know that Tony Gilroy is willing to go that route, but I don't think he wanted his very serious prison arc to be undercut by a goofy alien. He probably could have done it with aliens in there and it still stayed serious, but I think he wants to save the aliens for like Mon Mothma's party where they aren't standing out so much. I think he wants people to focus on what's actually happening.
Yeah. I'll let you read this one because my face is like so shiny. I'm not sweaty, but the lights just, I gotta fix it. It's bothering me.
You're glistening. You're beautiful.
I look like a glazed donut.
Decaf Coffee, thank you for the next super chat. Haven't seen the episode, but you guys are still live. Goddamn. We're still going. We're coming up on the end, though. We're going to do it.
This was such a good episode that we don't mind spending this much time talking about it. Because a lot of you guys have brought up some really amazing points and made us realize some cool new stuff. So.
Oh, yeah.
That always happens.
this is my favorite way to end a new episode day. It's very fun. Tan has the next super chat. With how much Cassian is mentioned by name, I wonder how he goes by his spy status in Rogue One. My initial reaction with a number of assumptions. Well, we know that he could go by Keith Gergo, which I still think is
you made the joke that he chose that name on Niamos, just being like, yeah, I'm a tourist.
Yeah. My name is Keith.
My name is Keith, whatever. And now he's stuck with that name for what he thinks is going to be 6 years.
What's your name?
Prison.
Keith.
Keith.
Really? Keith? Yeah. Yeah, I think that Keith, or I almost called him Keith. Cassian probably does have a lot of aliases. So Cassian is his real name. Well, Cassa is his real name, but he probably goes by different names. And where'd I just see it? Yeah, Gabriel. He is one of the Fulcrum agents. We've got Cassian, Ahsoka, Callus. So yeah, like I think he can have a real name and a bunch of fake names.
Yeah. This next one. Darth Nicholas, thanks for the super chat. Syril Karn is the MVP Simp Lord. Been seeing that around the internets.
Yeah, he's got a crush for fascism and Dedra and the Empire and everything he shouldn't have a crush on. Yeah.
Yeah. And the show went out of its way to show a lot more of his relationship with his mother than I think most other shows would have given. And I think it's very purposeful to give us an idea of like, this is why he is the way he is.
Yeah. Ryan Allen McKinney has the next one. Thank you, Ryan. Mon and Val seemed very close for cousins. Do you think we'll learn more about their relationship in this series? I just think they're friends. I mean, like, they're family. They care about each other.
Yeah. I don't know how similar they are in age, but like, I don't know. They seem like they are around the same age group to where they would get along. And maybe Mon knows her from growing up.
Yeah.
Because if Chandrilla is a very traditional place and their family was traditional, then they probably did a lot of family gatherings and stuff. So
yeah, I just think they're family and that they care about each other and that they are politically aligned and they have this shared secret together.
I want to see them share a couple bottles of Corona and say, we're family.
Some squigs.
Yeah. Not for long. Almost done here.
Sweet Feet Pete. Are you guys still on? We've almost made it. Because we have one more.
Now I'm like, we might as well just keep going. No, I'm kidding.
I'm hungry. And my throat is tired. But Eric Bruno has the last super chat here. Thank you, Eric. What do you think the women prisoners do?
That's a good point.
I bet they do the same thing.
Yeah, they probably have a whole separate building for women, and that seems like a very Empire thing to do, to separate them.
Yeah. Just like no distractions with one another, keep you separated, and just build. Like that's all we want from you, is to just churn out product.
Yeah. Because when I don't know. It might just complicate the story a bit too much if it were just mixed gender prisons. I don't know. That seems like above my head type of storytelling that I don't know how I would handle that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Empire thinks those kinds of things through. I think the Empire is more like Perrin of just, Vel, off to find a husband finally.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's that's kind of the Empire just tries to force everyone into the same box. They try to force every planet into the same box. Like nothing is unique. It all just becomes Imperial. And this is something they even touched on in The Mandalorian, where on Navarro they invaded that Imperial base, and they said something about how the base wasn't working because it's just a standard issue Imperial base, and they put it on a lava planet because that's what the Empire does.
Mhm.
So that's how I view it. Is to the Empire, every person is just like, it's not an actual person, it's just an Imperial, and they should be this way.
It's a worker bee,
Yeah.
and Palpatine is the queen bee. And yeah, you're right. The chat is right. They're not expecting. They're not even considering the gays. And,
Right.
But you know what? Love finds a way. Not just life finds a way. Love finds a way.
Mhm.
A couple more here before we get
gotta
out of
talk
here.
faster.
Lord Hosk, you sure we aren't keeping you from turtles? No, not turtles, but we got to cook some food, so we're gonna go do that.
Lord
Darth
Hosk sent
Nicholas,
something like that like 2 hours ago, thinking
I-
this would be over probably.
I know. Darth Nicholas, thank you so much. Narkina 5, not just the male prisoners, but the women and children prisoners too, I would imagine. Yeah, they're somewhere. They're in there somewhere.
Solid Anakin prequel meme to end off the night, but it has been almost 4 hours, and so we need to go eat.
Yes. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in and stayed for this long. If you stayed from the beginning, you're a saint. And I'm proud of you. Yeah. And thank you so
I'm
much
proud
to
of you
everyone
too.
thank you so much to everyone who sent in super chats. And yeah, we'll be doing this again next week for the next episode that we're all very excited for.
We're going to get that prison break, and we're going to have so much fun talking. So thank you all. Get on program for the next week, and then we're all going to get off program. We're going to break out off program forever.
I should say too, if you have more questions or things you want to talk about, we're going to be live streaming again tomorrow. Building Lego.
We'll do our
So.
Lego stream tomorrow. But yeah, that's it for us today. So thank you all for watching and hanging out for so long, and may the Force be with you.